Okay, right now I'm stalling, but the show is starting soon, everyone. Hold on. Hello, everyone. This is Andres Restart, and tonight we're going to be talking more about Nintendo, more about the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. Just remember, I still have the splint on my fingers jammed. It doesn't look that bad now. It's been like 5 or 6 days already. It's functional, just hurts a little bit. It hurts when I shoot a ball and I shoot, like, try and shoot 3-pointers, and I can shoot, but it hurts. Anyway, I'm good. Paul Gale, shout out to you in the chat, will be showing up on the stream shortly. And we're going to talk about whatever we want to talk about tonight, right? But there is a focus, and the focus is Nintendo coming back with some long forgotten or dormant IP. I do think that some Nintendo IP are going to make a comeback. Will we see them in the Direct? There's more of a debate to be had there. But I think this generation, we have a good chance of seeing some IP come back. Star Fox, F-Zero, others. And I think it's going to be a fun discussion. So that's what we're going to do today. And I'm basically just waiting for Paul to come in here. But if you all could let me know how everything is looking and sounding. I feel like the background music is probably a little bit too loud. But just let me know. Cat Dad, an Earthbound 3D remake. That would be amazing. I would love to see an Earthbound 3D remake. That would just be so good. Oh my gosh. Incredible. And you're all Toki. You feel like you needed some glow sticks to go with the standby music. Yeah. I love F-Zero music, but the thing about F-Zero music, it's so energetic that I feel like I can't really usually use it in the backgrounds when I'm like talking, but if there's no talking, it's perfect. It's just good. Chris Thorndike, has anyone seen the Lilo and Stitch trailer yet? I saw the Lilo and Stitch trailer, and I think it looks pretty awesome. I'm actually very, very eager to watch it. There's another animated remake that I'm looking forward to watching more so, and that's the How to Train Your Dragon. That one is like a remake of my favorite animated movie. So that one's like top of my list. But this Lilo and Stitch one looks pretty good too. I like watching the trailer. Like I was smiling because it was cute. It was funny. I think it looks like they're doing a good job with it. So yeah, definitely interested in it. I have a question. I was thinking about asking you guys, because I just realized I don't really have too many friends in my life that are fans of the ReZero anime, but right now I'm watching season 3 and it's so good. Like, it's really good. I'm really pleased with where the story has gone and how the main character Natsuki Subaru has like developed. So I don't know. I want someone to talk about it with, so I was just kind of hoping someone in the chat is also a ReZero fan, because it's cool. I haven't not caught up on like, there's still like, I think like a couple more episodes coming up this month to finish out season 3, so I'm not totally caught up yet. I have like 7 episodes before I fully catch up, but it's such a good show. Yeah. Yeah, I won't spoil anything then, Kendrick. But it's a really good anime. I'll tell you guys the premise though, right? So the premise is basically, um, it's I guess you could call it an isekai, right? So technically, an isekai is a type of show where the character is thrown into like another like world, right? And so yeah, technically the main character Natsuki Subaru is a young adult who had grown up in I assume yeah Japan, but he's all of a sudden transported to a fantasy world, right? Like you got elves, dwarves, magic. It's a not modern times, right? There are dragons and all sorts of things, like all that stuff, right? That's all there. Um, but that's just kind of like the aesthetic. That's not like what's so unique about this story. I mean, this has been done before, but the main hook is that whenever the main character dies, he has a checkpoint and he goes back to. So it's yeah, and things just kind of get wild. And there's other elements to it. Like there's a love story involved, there's a lot of action involved, but the main character is not that strong. Everyone around him is like just insanely strong. And actually, I almost want to argue that ReZero might be a better version of My Hero, if that makes any sense, because My Hero, for those who are fans of My Hero Academia, like the first couple episodes, you're like, whoa, so there's this character, right? And you're like, oh, is he gonna find his way to become a hero in a world filled with people that are super powered? But eventually, he gets his own powers, right? In ReZero, the main character does develop and get stronger, but still everyone else around him is just like far more powerful. Like he develops by learning how to interact with people and become smarter. Those are like the main ways he kind of like evolves. He evolves. It's I think it's more character driven. Actually, like it's more so about how he develops like as a person. Anyway, yeah. So just looking for fellow ReZero fans out there. It's a really good show. So still waiting for Paul Gale. I think he's gonna pop in soon. Jacob, I am doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you? Outside of my jammed finger, I actually got a couple weeks ago. I was playing basketball in like a game, and they shouldn't do what they did. Maybe I can be more careful of how I play defense, but like I put my body in front of them. They're like running down the court, and they go for a layup when I'm right in front of them, and they kick me. They kick me while they're in the air, and they kick me right in like the groin. And so I've been like kind of worried, oh, do I have a hernia? Like that's how bad it was. And there's been a lot of bruising. Still recovering. I don't think it's a hernia, but there's definitely some internal bruising and scarring. Like it was a really bad hit. And they did not call offensive foul, but they totally should have, because that was dirty. So outside of like sport related injuries, like I can still walk, I'm still playing ball. Like it's just little things that I am dealing with, but yeah, I'm good. Toki, you're saying if it was a hernia, I would know. Like I think I just have like a little bit of just like, it's been a few weeks already, but I still think there's some swelling and some scar tissue in there, right? Like because like if I jump around and I run, I do feel a little bit of awkwardness there, but there isn't like anything really sticking out too much. Like there's a little bit of a bump, but I think even that bump has gone down, so it probably is just swelling plus scar tissue. So, and yeah, I haven't felt sick or anything like that, so it's probably not a hernia. So yeah, anyway, let's stop stalling. Oh, wait, hold on. Upper Nimbus. I watched the first season of ReZero many years ago, but I need to catch up on season 2 and 3. But yeah, the show is awesome. Yeah, season 1's a masterpiece. Season 1 is a masterpiece. And like kind of how I go about shows, like I'll watch the first season. It's really good, and I'll forget about it for 2 years. They come out with the season 2, like, oh, okay, well, since it's been so long, I'll rewatch season 1. Then I'll watch season 2. And that's exactly what I did. And now it's been a few years since then. And so I rewatched season 1, then 2. There's like a movie that's canon as well. and now I'm back on season 3. And so I imagine 2 years from now, when season 4 comes out, I'll probably restart again. See. Anyway, yeah. Oh, the stalling has finished. Paul Gale, what is
How's
up,
it
buddy?
going?
I'm good.
Sorry
How are
for-
you?
Pretty good. Sorry for the little bit of a delay. Time.
No,
has
it's
been
not really an
slipping
issue.
by.
I wanted to talk about other stuff, so here we are.
Let me open up your chat on the side too. Because I had it on my phone, and then now that I'm here,
Guys,
Okay.
Paul Gale, his website and Twitter will be linked in the description below. Paul Gale is a fun, awesome dude that has had his time, with the industry. Is a very smart, fun person. So we always enjoy our conversations, and he is a pretty big Nintendo fan. But I kind of had him in mind for this episode because I want to talk about Star Fox making a comeback, and I know him and I kind of share that dream. There you go.
Yeah, I wore my shirt today in hopes of willing it into existence.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
this
good.
can happen.
I think so. I hope so. I was in the chat earlier, so I was listening as I was trying to get ready. But yeah, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for having me on here, and hello everyone in chat too.
Yeah. So I mean, let's just start off, right? Like, we are what now? 20 days away.
Yeah.
Less than 20 days away from the big Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. And
that's insane.
Yeah.
I knew. I mean, you know about the countdown series.
Yeah.
I knew that I needed to do something to hold the time, and I was like, 76 days until the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct? That sounds like a lot. That's 2.5 months, but if I make it go by easier, somehow I'll achieve a little goal if I could pull it off. And yeah, that countdown video series helped me, and I think for some community members, like, it was good too. 20 days, dude. That's less than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's insane.
In just a few hours, it will be 19 days.
Oh, we get into the teens tomorrow, and then when
hit
it's
the
single
teens.
digits.
Yeah, it's gonna go crazy. Yeah, like it feels like it's been such a long wait. I mean, and it has been, right? Like, especially depending on where you want to kind of look at, like, how long we've been waiting for this, because it's been a very long generation.
Yeah, in some ways, like, we're already 3 years into another generation at this point. If you look at N64 to GameCube, that was 5 years. So this is the equivalent of it being 2004, GameCube 3 years in, and instead, no, we're still yet to get a new system. You know what I mean? From GameCube to Wii, that's 2006. That's 5 years. 3 years into Wii's life, that's the same amount of time. And look, no, we're still yet to get a new system. When you put it in that perspective, I mean, everyone's been doing it the whole time. It's nothing new that I'm saying now, but it's just that much more impressive with how Nintendo Switch has lasted, and the fact that we're going to go on like close to 8.5 years probably before getting this thing. It really has been a while.
And it's interesting, actually, like, when you think about it, because it's not just the home consoles, also the handhelds, right? Because we used to, like, I mean, let's just start from the year 2001. Like, we can go further back, but let's just start from the year 2001 because it's a little bit easier, right, to kind of list off. GameCube came out in 01. Then, I mean, when
And GBA.
they both came out in 01. Exactly. Yeah. And then 3 years later, Nintendo DS in 2004. And then
so that's hardly a 3.5 year wait.
Right. L6, it was the Wii, right? Yeah. And then I think after 06, we had to wait a little bit. We had to wait until, what was it, 2011
for DS.
It came out early 2011. Early 2011.
Yeah,
the 3DS
was
came
11,
out.
And Wii U was 12. So if you look at that gap between 2004 and 2011, that's like a 6.5 year gap between between DS and 3DS.
Yeah, DS came out. Yeah, that was a long generation for DS,
but still not 8.
Right, but we still had the Wii in between.
Like DS and Wii U staggered, and then 3DS and Wii U staggered. So it's like several years between systems.
We would have to wait as that long to get like a new hardware announcement, right?
Yeah.
And so now it's just the Switch. There's no in betweens. Like this has felt longer, and it has also been longer. Like, so
they've satisfied the market for longer, though. I mean, I've heard I've watched your videos before, and you've said it, and a lot of people have said it. Like, since Nintendo merged their hardware and software divisions, since they've merged their home console and portable console divisions, there's been no gap, really. People are excited for new hardware. You see the rest of the industry going by with more advanced geometry in games and visuals and resolution and whatnot. So you want more, and you want to see Nintendo's artists being challenged more. But we've been eating well. This late into most Nintendo platforms' lives, you're almost bored for the last year. The pickings are slim.
Yeah. That's a fantastic point. While yes, we may no longer enjoy as frequent hardware announcements, back then, you got like 2 or 3 Nintendo games a year, and you're like, hey, you're going to enjoy that or not and just suffer for half a year. Like that's what it was. Nintendo droughts was they were synonymous, Nintendo and drought. Like that was just what it was, especially because they didn't have third-party support like the others. So it was tough. But it's so different now.
Yeah. When you're reliant on just a couple third parties and then a few late gen releases, makes you wonder if they could have gone back in time and operated differently. Would you have saved Majora's Mask for a GameCube launch day? Like that kind of game. Would they? Because that's 4.5 years in, which is closer to the GameCube launching in September 2001, right? Because Majora's Mask came out October 2000. So 11 months before GameCube came out was Majora's Mask release date. Yet that game was 4 years and a couple of months into N64's life. So it was much closer to the end. So that's a weird thought. But yeah. And here you have Echoes of Wisdom coming out 7 years into the system's life on the same platform. It really gave us so many titles. It didn't give us everything, but as the generation was going on, I was really thinking this is Nintendo's system to shine with their lesser-known projects, their lesser-known IPs. So many different types of people are buying Nintendo Switch, whereas we sold 101 million, but a big portion of it was a more casual crowd.
Right, and they weren't going to be really buying the Zeldas or the Marios or Metroids.
Those games did sell well, but if Nintendo wanted to dip their toes and be like, all right, we got 101 million people, let's bust out a Wave Race. It wasn't a guarantee that Wave Race would sell, But I thought on Nintendo Switch, dang, that's a system for a new Wave Race, a Punch-Out, a Star Fox, an Excitebike, because it has so many different types of gamers, and the ecosystem is so healthy that every IP of theirs, I think, I did this before, so at the time I knew this, but I think every IP of Nintendo's had their best sales in franchise history on this system.
Yeah.
When you look at Metroid, look at 3D Mario, 2D Mario, like
Kirby. Pokemon technically no, but it got the second and third. So
of all time, since the originals, that's amazing. Right. Even second place compared to the originals, everything else was a lot under. The fact that it got this close is really.
Because Pokemon exploded. It was a cultural phenomenon. And actually, what's interesting about Pokemon is that it's been a cultural phenomenon more than once. Remember Pokemon Go?
Yeah.
Yeah. It just seems like every couple decades, Pokemon's going to find a way to completely shatter expectations.
Yeah. I didn't mute myself, did I? You still hear me?
No, I hear you fine.
Okay, guys. I'm moving the microphone.
Yeah.
I saw the microphone is blocking Andros a little bit.
Oh. Okay.
I got to lift up the chair higher.
No. But I've been able to hear you fine.
Good.
Yeah. And it's interesting, actually. The Switch is the best, by far the best, I would say the best platform ever, right? Mm-hmm. But I also look at Nintendo GameCube, and I'm like, Nintendo GameCube, even though the games may not have sold as well as we would have wanted, the hardware itself didn't sell as well as we would have wanted. I feel like the GameCube, they kind of made sure to have at least one, oftentimes two, quality games for all of their respective IP, right? Like, I mean, maybe Mario's the one that they kind of like. That's the one that they probably should have done a better. Like in terms of 3D Mario, like Mario Sunshine is good, but they needed another one, right?
Yeah.
But you had your Luigi's Mansion, and you had Mario Kart Double Dash, and that's fine. There's tons of Mario Party games, but going away from Mario, right? Like Zelda had Wind Waker, it had Twilight Princess, right? There was the Master Quest stuff, and there was the Four Swords, right? So they had some
Zelda represented, yeah.
Zelda was well represented. Metroid had Primes 1 and 2, so that's pretty good. Donkey Kong had Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, so that was a legitimate 2D side-scrolling Donkey Kong game. But then also that Donkey Konga 1 and 2, right? There was even a racing game of Donkey Kong as well. Well, actually, I think that was a Wii game. I take that back. Moving from Donkey Kong, Star Fox had 2: Star Fox Assault and Star Fox Adventures. Pikmin 1 and 2, right? Pokemon XD.
Pikmin was a new IP. Also, Pikmin was the Splatoon of the era.
Correct.
Pikmin's been around a while, but that was a GameCube like. In my mind, when I look back, I'm like, Pikmin's a new franchise. No, it's not. It's 24 years old now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was 2 Pikmin games.
Yeah.
And it is a good point. It was a new IP then, and it sort of took off, right? Star Fox had 2. Wave Race had Blue Storm. There was a Smash Bros. Melee. There was an F-Zero GX. F-Zero GX is amazing. Yeah, 1080. That's another one. Fire Emblem there was a good release there. Nintendo did not own Monolith Soft yet, right? But Monolith Soft did put out Batten Kaitos 1 and 2 on the GameCube. Yeah. So, if you want to count that as a quasi like Xenoblade representation, it's not, but Monolith Soft put out an RPG. Battalion Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Gale of Darkness and
Colosseum. Yeah.
A little bit of Pokemon. And they did better in third party than they did have relations.
Right, because you still felt like the GameCube was getting most of the third parties. They might not have had the online and stuff, but like if there was a big AAA like third party game, it was coming out on all 3 systems.
Yeah, it didn't get everything, but like GTA was missing, for instance.
That was a Rockstar and Bethesda just would not support Nintendo.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Bethesda even supported PlayStation back then, so.
Let's see. This was from November 4th. I don't know if I updated it since. I probably did, but importantly for GameCube is it still is the record holder of the highest ratio of software to hardware sold per system. So even though Nintendo GameCube sold, round up to 23 million units, 9.59 games were sold per console.
So many good games.
And the drop off there goes to Wii at 9.07. Now Nintendo Switch has hit 9, and then it goes NES at 8, Super NES at 7.7, Wii U at 7.6, N64 at 6.8, Nintendo DS 6. Like the list goes down more and more,
Right.
And like when you look at something like a successful system like Nintendo DS, and you realize, wow, there's 154 million Nintendo DS 154 million Nintendo DS owners out there, or at least consoles sold, and 995 million units.
The games don't sell 7 to 8 times better.
Those are impressive stats, but the average Nintendo Switch owner owned 6.16 copies. Nintendo GameCube 9.59. So you could say that the average consumer that owned a Nintendo GameCube was possibly more satisfied with their console purchase because they were more inclined to buying more. And Nintendo Switch is actually now number 2. I think it just passed Wii.
That's impressive.
With the ratio.
And as a generation continues, even into Switch 2, like that number is going to increase because less people are going to buy Switches, but there are still people who own those Switches that are going to buy a few more games.
You'll still sell another few million units, another several million units, but you'll have tens of millions of more pieces of software.
And there might be a little bit of a trick there too, because of backwards compatibility. right?
Yeah.
Some people are
Yeah.
gonna have a Switch 2 and buy Switch 1 games, but not buy a Switch.
Yeah. I would be very interested to see like how does Nintendo I mean, I guess if someone is browsing on the Nintendo Switch on their Nintendo Switch 2 on that eShop, they're browsing game library that comes from both platforms, but they pick up and download, Animal Crossing New Horizons and happen to play it on Nintendo Switch 2. I guess that does count as one more piece of software sold for Nintendo Switch,
Right.
Even though it was purchased on NS2.
Right,
So
because I mean,
that's
in terms of financials, they're going to report that. I mean, it's still a Switch One game, and
the
they're still going to report the software sales.
Yeah,
Like,
and Nintendo's making new money on something old, and that's also cool. Like the evergreen, the
right,
beauty of the evergreen for the company that's selling it is, man, they invested their $43 million budget in this game 6 years ago, and they're still cranking it out.
yeah. I do think though that once Switch Two is out, like, yes, some people will still buy Switch One games, but that number is not going to be like dramatic.
Yeah, it'll slowly go down because a
Right.
big part of the audience had it, but you know, the gaming industry is still young enough that here's the thing it makes me laugh sort of when people say like, oh, it's already reached the max amount of people that are going to buy it, they're going to buy it. You've always got other markets. You realize Nintendo Switch isn't officially in India. There's
Yeah.
another billion demographic.
Still
Nintendo,
haven't gone a price drop yet, right? Like, there's
no price
also
drop.
yeah, like there are certain people who aren't going to they will only spend so much for a console, right? Or maybe they will only spend so much for a console for their kid, right? So
Right. And you know, 6-year-olds that are 6 today that were 1 through 5 for the last few years might have been too young if the family dynamic wasn't yeah, we're a gamer family, and like the mom and the dad or whomever the parents are like gamers that are like my age or your age or something, like
yeah,
old enough to like have a little family, that they're not gamers. They didn't need to spend $350 in the last 5 years for it. But if their kid's at the right age now, okay, we're not a hardcore gamer family that would need a PS5 or 500 or a Nintendo Switch 2 for 400 or whatever. But hold on, there's this Nintendo Switch thing that people are still talking about, that the relevancy is still there. It's not like, I'm buying something old for my kid. Like, I don't want to get them the old outdated thing, because it's still, the ecosystem is healthy, that people are still going to be playing Mario Kart 8. There's so many active people that even if, yeah, people are moving on to 9, not everybody can move to 9. I mean, you realize, like, out of the 152 million Nintendo Switch owners, at most, only 22.5 million will be able to buy Nintendo Switch 2 in a whole 12 months. That means a lot of people in that community, 130 million of them or so, are still going to be playing the older system just because they can't make 150 million in the first year of the new platform, So
yeah,
the life draws out longer of the older games. So the whole point goes back to, if Nintendo drops the price of Nintendo Switch and they get down to like $100 mark, whether it's Nintendo Switch Lite eventually getting there, or I could still picture a Nintendo Switch Micro model coming out. Maybe it's a little bit nerfed in features. Maybe the screen is a little bit smaller. Maybe they do something different with the form factor. Like, hey, this is the model designed for youth, that you throw it in your backpack and it's a little bit sturdier, thicker of a plastic, looks less spiffy and modern and sleek, but it's just a built tough kind of device with a clamshell. No second screen, just a clamshell. Why? Just for the sake of screen protection for the youth. That thing's going to sell another 17 million units. You get a Nintendo Switch Micro for $100, you would have people that cannot help but not buy the model because they want every SKU, right?
Nintendo Switch DS.
Yeah,
Oh man,
$100, and yeah, I think it'll eventually get there. I don't think that's going to be the first price drop. It's too big of a drop, I, for what it's worth, I would love to see, once Nintendo Switch 2 come out, you have this like tier of $400 for the new system. OLED goes from 350 to 300. Base model goes from 300 to 250, and Lite goes from 200 to 170. Those are about appropriate, more or less equivalent 18-ish% drops, and that's not a bad first drop. for a system this long in.
It's insane. I don't think a console's ever gone this long without a price drop before. It's
No way.
crazy.
PS2, 9 years in. You realize Nintendo Switch hasn't even hit 9 years mark. PS2, 9 years in, which PS3 was out for 3 of those years, finally dropped to $100 at that point. And it dropped along the way from 300 to 250 to 200 to
they continue to drop the price to continue the sales going. Nintendo has yet to drop the price even once.
For the first time yet to drop it. Exactly.
Right, and like basically, it's a wrap. Like Nintendo, if they want to hit that 160 million mark, they want to have the best selling console of all time. They already have it. It really just comes down to when they decide to drop the price, because what they're really thinking about is just maximizing their profits. It doesn't make it, and you don't. But if you drop the price of the console, you're also dropping the inherent perceived value, right? So it's just they're very picky about that. It's why you see games that are like 10 years old that still cost $60, because there's a psychological factor here, right? Like if people in the store still see that Mario Kart 7 for Nintendo 3DS is still selling for the max $40, they're gonna be like, "Wow, that's something." And I'm not just pulling that out of nowhere. Like I remember, like years after I was done with the 3DS, like I would still see 3DS in the store shelves and be like, "There's Mario Kart 7 for $40, $39.99." It's kind of crazy.
I think Nintendo always had that integrity with their IP, but despite being the market leader in some ways, weren't in others, so they didn't have the opportunity to hold on to those prices all generation long, because every other system, Super NES, N64, GameCube, Wii, had Player's Choice or Nintendo Selects. They still very much so valued their Super Mario new game that came out, or that was a few years old, but they had to reduce the price. They don't have to now. Is that a little bit cocky, a little bit arrogant? Maybe, but when you look at the quality, it really is kind of undeniable that they are one of the best developers in the world today. They're my favorite, but that's heavy bias too. They were around in my childhood. But even when I look at the industry as neutral as possible to have a fair assessment, dang, they crank out titles. Their titles don't really come with bugs. They are fun. Whether you like that genre or character or style, that's up to you, but maximizing hardware and also being the ones to create the hardware, there's a lot of respect in them. We're in a cool time. It's sort of funny because you said it's basically a lock to hit 160, and it's kind of funny. It's once again sort of like a egotistical thing to say. It's up to them if they want to hit it or not. It really is. You could continue to try to find success in China. You could try to enter India, or you could not necessarily care about the markets too much because they're too difficult and too much back and forth getting in and whatever, but just a price drop. You don't want to take too much steam away from Nintendo Switch 2 by making these new bundles or price drops too attractive, but I think there's a fine line between selling Nintendo Switch 2 as this is the system to get, but hey, folks who can't get that, there's still something worthwhile here. Did you want to buy a Super Nintendo still when N64 was out? Probably it was yesterday's news. But can they keep Nintendo Switch relevant? I think so. Part of that is their online structure with Nintendo Switch Online. And then you look at these numbers where it's like, all right, out of 150 million Nintendo Switch owners, there's 124 active million units, 124
It's like what, like over 90%
people? It's phenomenal. No system, not even like PlayStation 4, which was successful, a very successful system with like 117 million or so, have had that many active people playing it that late into the game and happy.
Yeah. Tetris 99.
Yeah, that's another one that you...
I do. It's on March 14th yet, because I'm waiting for that Xenoblade event.
Yeah, it's tonight, I guess.
Yeah. I got to get that theme. I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to get all of them. I think I might have missed one or two.
Oh,
And
I've missed way too many.
the weekend passed, and you don't even
Yeah,
have
I mean,
first.
no,
Just
man, it's
the
too
Donkey Kong
easy.
was cool.
Yeah, I have a few. I have a Legend of Zelda one. I have a Pokemon I have the Pokemon Sword and Shield one, the Metroid Dread one. I've missed a lot though, so it's
Yeah.
unfortunate. But I want to point out a couple chats real quick. Adam Rohn been a member for nearly 23 years, as Adam says. Yo, damn, almost 2 years. You're getting there. Thank you for being a member all this time. And Taker610 with a super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Taker says this stream is now rated PG.
That's accurate.
Paul Gale. Yeah. No parental guidance necessary, though. So, yeah. Yes, having hope. There is so for Tetris 99, there's going to be a Xenoblade Chronicles X event starting tomorrow for like 3 or so days, I think. And basically, yeah, you play Tetris 99, but in Tetris 99, every time there's like a big Nintendo game that comes out, they put out an event where it has different music and sound effects and like a different background that's related to that game that's coming out. And so a lot of the different themes are very cool. And then once if you play it enough, you unlock it forever. Like you just have it to pick that whenever you want to play Tetris. So it's pretty awesome. But let's now dive into talking about, man, there's so much I want to kind of like ask you about here. So you
sure,
know,
I'm happy for it. When you first called, I was like, I'm not sure what we're talking about. I don't have notes. Let's just go live and
we're Nintendo fans. We do our research already. No extra research required. It's kind of funny whenever I guest on a show, right? They're like, hey, so like here are the notes, right? You know, and I kind of get that that's like the standard, but like I don't need notes. I'm just like, hey, if we're talking about Nintendo, I'm good.
I got 35 years of history.
Right, this is what I do. Right, is it?
What do you want to know?
Yeah. Now, I mean, if there's like a current event, maybe sometimes I haven't caught up on the current event yet, but yeah. Anyway, so there has been a theory that I'm gonna take credit for it because it is my theory. It is my theory, and other people have followed, right? But you know, I might be wrong too, right? So on January 27th, I published a video where I thought we got enough substantial evidence to kind of put it all together for one video of when I think the Switch 2 is coming out. My theory is that the Switch 2 is launching May 15th. And there's a lot of reasons why I think that. Quick summary, right? Looking at Switch 1 from reveal to big presentation to release, right? That entire window was 4.5 months. And then now looking at Switch 2, the reveal to big presentation window is actually shorter than it was for Switch 1. So if Nintendo maintains pace, if they do the 4.5 months like Switch 1, it comes out like at the very end of May, beginning of June. But if they kind of continue the pace they're sort of suggesting, but with the shorter turnaround from reveal to big presentation, then we're actually looking at a mid-May release. And then another reason why is that back when Switch 1 came out, there were experience preview events, right? The moment they ended, Switch 1 came out. The Switch 2 experience events, most of them happened throughout April, some in May, and on May 11th they end for a few weeks, and then one starts up in Asia at the end of May, early June. But that's a market Nintendo doesn't usually touch until later on, right? And so the interesting thing here is that the events end the week of May 15th. So yeah, there's two different reasons why I'm like, oh, okay, May 15th kind of makes a lot of sense here. But then it gets straight. But then there's other things that have popped up that have kind of made the theory make even more sense. So first off, Thursday is May 15th. That's when Nintendo publishes their games. That's when they released them as of last year. But we recently learned that Doom Dark Ages, a game that is expected to come to Switch 2 eventually, right, is actually launching on May 15th. Microsoft does not publish their games on Thursdays. They publish them on Tuesdays. So, and there are some exceptions, but if you look at all their major releases in the last couple years, Tuesday is it. So to put it on a Thursday, Nintendo's Day, is very, very unusual, right? And then more recently, this week, Nintendo announced the Mario Kart Lego set release date for May 15th. And this one's even more unusual because if you look at Lego set release dates, over 95% of them are on the first of the month, and they usually fall, if not on the weekend, a Monday or a Friday. Never on a Thursday, and almost always at the beginning of the month. If it's not the first, like it is 95, 96% of the time, it's like in that first week. Never is it the middle of the month on a Thursday. Yeah. And yet this Mario Kart Lego set is. And something I haven't actually touched on in the videos, apparently that's just like the limited release. Right, that's an early release window, May 15th. It eventually be made available on the first later on. And so it's just very weird that they're doing this when they don't do it. And then on top of that, there are a variety of games that are coming out in the second half of May. A lot of smaller games. Fantasy Life I, Blades of Fire, a whole bunch of others. And so it seems like something's happening post May 15th in terms of a lot of games coming out, and then there's a lot of things lining up for May 15th. And with the Mario Kart Lego thing, I mean, we already believe that Mario Kart's gonna be a launch title. Paul, do you agree that Mario Kart seems like the launch title because that's the game they showed in the reveal trailer?
I think so.
Right?
That one's gotta be.
And if anything, the Lego set almost makes me believe it is the launch title more so, right? But
it really helps.
It helps. And so the thing that happened today, though, is that Nintendo announced that the Nintendo store of San Francisco, the second store in North America, is opening on May 15th. Mm-hmm. And here's what makes it more weird, and I don't think a lot of people realize this. When Nintendo opened the Nintendo New York store back in 2005 on May 14th, this is on a Saturday, on the weekend. Makes sense. Back then, they didn't publish games. Well, I don't think they ever published games on weekends, right? But they published games on Mondays back in 2005. Right? So the fact that they are choosing to open a store not on a weekend like they've done in the past when they've opened stores, but on Thursday, Nintendo release day for their products, I find it highly, highly, highly curious, especially when you factor everything else we've mentioned, that they're pacing for May 15th based off the historical precedent by Switch 1, that's when the experience events end, that's when Doom comes out. That's when a whole bunch of other games come out right afterwards that are smaller. And that's when the Lego set comes out almost inexplicably because they never put out Lego sets at that time. So it's just kind of like, are we looking at like, May 15th being the launch date? And something else interesting that's popped up recently is that Oblivion, there's a remake supposedly coming, according to Video Games Chronicle. I mean, there was a leak of it like a couple years ago, but now it's being reported that it's going to be announced in a few weeks. What's in a few weeks, Paul? The Switch 2 Direct, and supposedly it's coming out before June. This game, so like, it's way too much that it's just kind of like obviously. So okay, Oblivion remake is a Microsoft published, will be a Microsoft published title. They own Bethesda, right? So maybe it's asking too much to say that they're going to reveal Oblivion in the Switch 2 Direct. Although I'm not going to write it off. It may be announced like right beforehand, but I think there's a really good chance it still comes out. I mean, for one, I think it's still a really good chance it's a part of the Direct. It's still in there, right? And then it could still come out launch day or shortly afterwards. So it's just a very interesting timing, all these different things lining up. So I'm on the May 15th train. Obviously, it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen a whole bunch of evidence and it doesn't amount to what we think, right? Evidence isn't proof, just so we're clear, right? We don't have proof. We just have a lot of supporting evidence that makes us feel confident in the theory, but it is, at the end of the day, a theory. It is unconfirmed. So with that, I ask you, Paul, are you on team May 15th after everything I explained?
Yeah. That is one of the very strong ones that I believe in. I did send you in like the private chat a link to an X post I put up
on Twitter or here.
Here. It's an X post that I made a few months ago.
Okay.
And it's actually like the second time I made a post like this. Just kind of like what you're saying, the gap between initial reveal in October, the new reveal in January, when it came out, the initial reveal in January, the next reveal in April, and when it could come out. And May 15th is one of the dates that I like. Also, from an aesthetic standpoint, and I even highlight there, perhaps the most aesthetic contender is 051525.
Oh, that's May 15th, baby.
It looks nice.
It is clean. Right, that's a good point because that's what they're going to show in, like,
051525. That just looks good. And I made the little caveat. It is a Thursday, but don't rule out Thursday because this is a new Nintendo. So
this is when they release their games now.
So it very well could be. So, I always put it as my personal belief is June 27th is the latest we're going to get this thing. I just don't think it's going out any later in summer.
Why have all those preview events in April and May?
It's a little bit too early of a too long of a gap. You want to keep the pot boiling and like bam, release this thing. That's why I'm like, there's no way this thing is November or September anymore. It was a funny thought. Like Mike's podcast last week, he asked a funny question. What would be the worst case scenario? And I had a funny one. I'm like, Nintendo, in order to, this is evil, in order to satisfy consumer demand, they said, coming to Japan this May, coming to United States in November, coming into Europe next April. And that's how
I'm moving to Japan.
That's how they would do this staggered release to make sure that every territory has enough stock by, later. Like, that would be horrible. It was a hypothetical nightmare world of a scenario.
Maybe in the year like 2000 they would do that.
See, back in the day, Super Nintendo came out later. Look at NES came out a couple years later. N64, we had a 3-month gap. GameCube was a couple of months. Not until Wii did it finally get around. DS was a little bit of a gap. You know what I mean? But anyways, it was just a funny thought. But
it's a terrifying thought.
It's terrifying. It's not really funny, but it's.
And we're actually very spoiled now. There's a lot of things.
So good.
Like, at least just from a Nintendo perspective, we don't have the game droughts anymore, right? Like, everything's a simultaneous release.
You don't have to see Japan getting a game and like you getting it 6 months later because it needs to be localized.
Yeah,
I mean, not just Nintendo, but like much of the industry is all
region locking, right? Like we Switch is the first console that isn't region locked, if I'm not mistaken, from Nintendo. Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that it's May 15th because I like the timing. I love the look of it. It sits with your mind. Probably the easiest 15, system.
25.
Yeah. Dreamcast will probably always be one of the easiest to remember. $99.99. You almost can't beat that. You know what I mean? We remember things like, 12.18, that was GameCube. Wii U, also 12.18. Wii U, Wii, 12.19. Or sorry, 11. 11.18, 11.19. March 3rd, that was another good one, 3.3. But yeah. I like May 15th quite a bit. I'm on board with it. I would love it.
I'm putting a poll up. I'm straight up just asking you on the May 15th train yet?
It fits really well with the Nintendo San Francisco store opening, and you've got hype from third-party titles possibly being it. You got the Mario Kart. Dang, capitalizing on the timing of one thing with another thing is always how good business should work. Like if you got Pokemon Go, you would want, what was it, X and Y that came out shortly after? Or was it Sun and Moon that came out shortly after Pokemon Go? Sun and Moon?
2016 was the summer of 2016 was that was a fun summer Pokemon Go. That holiday was Pokemon Sun and Moon. They had reported unexpectedly higher sales due to Pokemon Go.
Fantastic. You've got the Super Mario Bros. Super Nintendo Land, Super Nintendo World, and the Super Mario Brothers movie. Coming out within a relative amount of
Yeah.
time to just build on the hype of one another. If you're coming out with a TV show, you would hope that there's some kind of movie or comic book or something like that running parallel. In film like Godzilla King Kong, you've got some kind of Fortnite event going on or some kind of Call of Duty event going on, or in the comic book world, the graphic novel manga world, you do have a new thing of that nature going on while this is going on. And here, Mario Kart is going to be hot. Lego is big. Lego Mario is big. Mario is big. Mario
That
Kart
Lego
is
Mario Kart is a big Lego set. It's pretty
and
big.
a new console is big, and a new Mario Kart game is big. It's all freaking things that match up so well. And a new Nintendo store opening is big.
Park opens the week after.
Oh, and yeah, we'll talk about Florida Park.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, to me, I feel like because the park is happening on May 22nd, which, that's cool. It's also on a Thursday, which is curious. I just don't think they would launch the console on May 22nd because people are going to be physically at the park.
You don't want to compete with yourself too much.
Right. Now, some people have said that the Lego set is maybe also a counter argument for May 15th. I don't agree because I think if Mario Kart's a launch title, it's almost just like a collector's edition thing. Like, hey, if you're a big Mario Kart fan, here's this awesome merch.
And it's not like anyone who wants to buy a Nintendo Switch 2 isn't going to buy it because of Lego Mario and Lego Mario Kart. You know what I mean? Like, if you want that new system, you're going to get that new system regardless. They're not like,
it's an expensive Lego set. Like, how many people are going to buy that? Like, the people that buy that are people who are super, one, who have a lot of money to spend, right? Like, and two, they're like collectors, because this is like the limited Lego thing, right? Like, it will be available for the masses later in June, the Lego set, right? So I don't think it's a significant enough of a thing, even if it wasn't necessarily going to benefit Mario Kart sales. But I think it's meant to captivate, to take advantage of Mario Kart. I think that's the point of it.
Yeah. And
what about the store, though? Like, do you think the store, I think the store is a point in favor, but some people are arguing that why would Nintendo want to release their console on their grand opening day of a store? That would cause too many issues for the store. I see it in the completely opposite direction, but I'm curious on your perspective on it.
I could see the argument of, are you competing and taking attention away from a store? I could see that, but I see a little bit more in favor of, hey, this store is so awesome. It's one of the most happening spots because we've got Nintendo Switch 2 in stock. And
there might be demos too.
We have a lot.
There might be one, people are going to come because they want to buy the console, but obviously that's going to sell out quick, right? But there can still be games, accessories. There could be screens showing off the game. There could be demo booths. People are going to want to go there just to kind of see the console, even if they can't buy it.
Yeah,
it's going to bring in a lot of people.
A place for demo trial, a place for maybe Nintendo Switch 2 swag, and to be a part of the excitement. No, I think there's more arguments in favor of, dang, having a cool new store that opens up with the launch of a system wins over. That's going to take away too much attention from the store opening because you got a new platform. I think I'm on the favor of it helping, not hurting.
And let me throw out another angle here, right? And maybe some people don't look at it this way because they're not as familiar with retail. But I've worked in retail, right? I have family members who work in retail who do management and things like that. And in this day and age in retail, it's becoming more challenging to thrive because this is the digital era, right? A lot of our purchases are done online, Amazon, all that stuff. So there's less and less reason to go to stores physically. But something like the Switch 2 is more reason than ever to go to a store physically, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like if we're talking about the higher ups making decisions, financial decisions, they're not going to be thinking about, oh, this might be a little hard for our employees because it's going to be really busy. They're going to be like, oh my God, so many people are going to be excited about the console that it's going to be hard to maintain, to kind of maintain that. We're probably going to have to limit occupancy and have people have a line just to get into the store. Like I think it's going to be something that they're going to want to do. You want it to be like the grand opening to be something that's really hard to handle.
Yeah.
You know, but like what I just said, though, they can still control occupancy, right? Like they don't have to let just everyone waltz in. They can be like a line where you have to take a ticket and wait your turn before you're allowed in. Like maybe there's like a 200 person max occupancy at a time, and you have to wait your turn, and so that's how they can kind of control the experience of being in the store. Because I do understand that, let's say like 700 people rush the store, right? Like that's not going to be fun. But if they control it, as Nintendo does with a lot of things like the Nintendo Museum, then I don't think it's going to be an issue, and it's just going to be a constant flow of people coming in the entire day, and people are going to want to check it out because of the Switch 2 even more so. And it's gonna do two things. One, obviously, Nintendo's going to be selling Nintendo products, but also because people are going to check it out because of Switch 2, it's going to help people like remember, or just learn, there's a new Nintendo store here now. Like, then they're going to come back.
Yeah. I'm considering, I mean, I'm in LA. San Francisco is not exactly close, but
I'm in Miami, Florida. It's,
it's only a couple hundred miles for me. So that is a decent drive or a relatively quick flight. I'm considering going to the opening launch, and part of that is dependent on when Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, because as much as I would like to go to the launch, if Nintendo Switch 2 is that day, May 15th, I kind of want to play the system right away. I'm so eager to play the new games, open the new hardware, and just absorb it all, that although I guess it is portable, so I could be playing on
How much of a drive is it for you to go to San Francisco?
Oh, I have to look. I want to say it's like 350 miles. Let's find out.
So this is not like let's go downtown.
No,
California
is a big state.
This is a day's trip, right? Like, yeah, like for example, let's say like, because I used to live in Jersey City for a couple of years. Okay.
370.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
Like, but when I lived in Jersey City, if I wanted to go to the Nintendo New York store, I could be there within an hour, right? And so theoretically, if I really wanted that experience when I was living close to New York, I probably could have taken, sacrificed my morning to do that. And by afternoon, I still can comfortably sit down with my Switch and enjoy it for the rest of the day. But yeah, that would be you be like, you'll have to wait till either late at night or the weekend or something to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, let's check with the chat here, and then we'll actually get into the main topic. So scrolling through the chat here. By the way, I put the poll up. We have currently 57 votes. 72% currently are saying yes, they are on the May 15th train yet. Maybe already. Hopefully you guys know what I mean. That's what I wrote down, but yeah. Let's see here. Did I miss a comment from earlier? Oh, Boo Mini with another gifted membership. Thank you, Boo Mini, for being the MVP of gifting memberships. And Joycey J with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Worst case scenario, Nintendo only shows off the system and no games on April 2nd.
Here's a closer look. They just literally zoom into the thing a little more. Like, here's the plastic, and when you that's a closer look. That'd be awful.
It would be awful.
Yeah.
That is a worst case scenario that I do not believe. I mean, listen, we already know that what. I mean, I know Joycey here is saying it's a worst case scenario. I don't even like. To be honest with you, it's not the worst case scenario. I think the worst case scenario is the world blows up, and that's like what, a fraction of 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 a fraction to like a really high exponent, like 0.1%. Like, it's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. This is I think it's really unlikely, and there's why I have one really good reason why. And I'm not going to say, it's because the Switch 1 presentation, and even though I do think it is equivalent that had a whole bunch of games, it is literally because what happens right after this event. The Switch 2 experience. You're going to tell me the Switch 2 experience is just about holding the controller? No! We're playing games at this event, which means there are games to show, which means that yes, there were games that they showed in the Direct. So yes, there will be games in the Direct. It is above a 99% probability that there will be games in the Direct, and not just like a little 5-second clip of Mario Kart. Like, there will be games announced. We will have trailers. I mean, maybe that's like maybe there's not trailers, but there's got to be trailers if they're going to have playable demos of different Switch 2 games shortly afterwards. So, yeah, Joyce, I know you're joking. Like you said, worst case scenario. Worst case scenario that like I said, the world blows up, and it's not going to happen. There are going to be games.
Gosh, I am so curious what that Nintendo Direct is going to start off with. How are they going to debut it? Are they going to be on stage and say, thank you for joining us today. We've had a wonderful last 8 years. We're entering a new era, ushering in. Please take a look at a retrospective Nintendo Switch over the years as we build up. Like, are they going to do something like that? They're going to have some kind of cool countdown of memorable moments throughout the Nintendo history. Are they going to just start off with a game? Like, there's so many different cool things. They have a skit. Like, it's just so Nintendo does it for me more than anyone else because they do things differently. It's magical. It's fun. It's not just, hello, here we are today. Da, da, da. Like, they are the company that would do, a puppet. They would enlist Robot Chicken to do this. And even though they're operating differently now than they were in the early 2010s, they're still fun. They still do awesome, awesome things. And look at all the partnerships they have. It just shows the maturation and the growth of Nintendo and their willingness to work with others in different ways, with Levi's and partnering with Puma and with Lego. Like, that's all new stuff. Yeah, Nintendo's always had like a McDonald's thing over here, but just
hey, so Paul, many. Can you give me 15 seconds?
Uh-huh.
No, continue to talk, right? Yeah. But I want to do something really quick in the kitchen. I'll be right back. 15 seconds.
Cool. Yeah.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
Okay, chat, take over time. So, just kidding. Yeah, Nintendo has so many different cool ways over the years in which they have launched a product, had this awesome Nintendo Direct that. What do you chat? I guess
I'm not sure
that was pretty fast. I was just asking chat, like, is Paula in charge? No. Where's Peach? She's somewhere in the house.
For 15 seconds, you were in charge.
Well, yeah. I was just about asking chat and you. I mean, like, I'm even asking myself because I haven't thought of it. How do you want this thing to open when that timer hits 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern time, wherever you are in the world? What's the first thing you want to see after that screen goes from, I guess, red to whatever? What do you want to see first? A game that looks amazing? If it's a game, what do you want it to be? What would blow you away the most? Mario Kart Deep Dive? Something like a Nintendo heavy hitter from the past that is in need of a new thing like Star Fox? Would Breath of the Wild, but now looking totally different, be enough of a way to start? Do you want to see Nintendo figureheads up there first? Would some kind of montage sequence of the last 8 years be better? Would I'm
trying to put together a poll to ask.
It's hard to get all these, like, because do you want to see a skit?
Right. So, all right, this is what I got so far. Right. All right. So I'm going to ask everyone in the chat. That's why I ended the first poll. Right. The basically we had 67 votes in for a last poll. I ended it prematurely, but it looked like it was 72% said yes, that they're on team May 15th. 28% said no for now. So new poll. How do you want Nintendo to open the Switch 2 Direct? Right. So the first thing I put is new game trailer. Right.
Ah,
Like,
ah,
like
ah, I'm so excited because
new
somebody
game
said,
trailer.
somebody
New
said
game
Hot Wheels.
trailer. It's not even Mario Kart. It's a new game. We don't know what it is. It might be a new IP. It might be a revived IP. It might be Zelda. I don't know. Like, but it's gonna be something new. A new game trailer, newly announced. Yeah, new game announcement trailer. Just so it's a little bit more clear, because you could argue that yes, a new trailer for Mario Kart would be a new game trailer. A new game announcement trailer, right? Okay. All right. So, what are the other three options we put?
Oh,
Um.
Nintendo spokespeople, like
Okay. Like
business.
Nintendo executive in suit.
You got Furukawa and Bowser on
Okay.
screen or something like that.
All right. Nintendo executive in suit, which I wouldn't mind. That's the very like, we're gonna be reserved to start, right?
Professional opening.
Yeah.
And like a montage sequence of Nintendo Switch, something kind of like a retrospect of the last
Okay.
8 years, like
All
a
right.
maybe
Sure.
just to feel the emotions, get
Look
people
back.
crying.
Look
people
back
crying.
at history.
Yeah.
Okay. Leading up to now. Okay. All right. All right. All right.
And then
All right.
maybe another one.
We got one more.
Oh, I just had it. Oh, like a skit. Something
There we go.
like unexpected skit. Something that's making you. I'm not watching a trailer. This is
Weird, funny skit.
weird, funny skit. Yeah, and that could be puppets. That could be animation, art, drawing. Oh, gosh, it could be the
So many
Nintendo
things.
mice rolling around
Yeah.
and showing the different Nintendo Joy-Con mouse movements. Like here's just the mice moving back and forth like they're talking with each other. And then when the screen pulls back, they created a beautiful painting. And then the mice are rolling around, and when the screen pulls back, it's like, oh, they were shooting. And then they show the mice moving around in this direction, and when the screen pulls back, oh, they were pointing and clicking like RTS.
Okay.
They're like, damn! I'm getting so excited. I'm getting so freaking pumped up. Like showing
Okay.
this is the new hardware thing that they want to show off, and they're deciding to show it off. Like basically, the Joy-Con in the glass replicating the ice cubes, but like cranked up a bit from the Nintendo Switch presentation back in January of 17. But basically now, like this skit, possibly the Joy-Con mice doing their thing, and you're seeing the motions, and like, what is going on? But like then the screen pulls back, and it's showing this is how they're used in a first-person shooter. This is how they're used in creating a beautiful painting in a Mario Paint. Not showing what the games are yet, but like showing the different things. This is how it's used in, like, what is this motion? Like, oh, drifting. You'll see later how you could drift in Mario Kart with it. Like, or skit. Oh, that's just one way.
Yeah.
One version of a skit.
The thing is, like, as you're talking about, I'm now thinking like, oh, like, so, like all these I think are possibilities, right? New game announcement trailer, Nintendo executive in suit, a look back at history leading to now, weird funny skit. Like all those could work, but there's one that we're missing.
What's the fifth one?
It might even be like the one they do. It's just it's straight up just is a new trailer, but it's not a trailer of one game. It's just a trailer of different people playing the Switch 2 in different ways,
right?
With games kind of a little. We see them like on the screen a few times. Is that the Nintendo executive one? That
that one could almost be skit, like depending on if it's silly.
All right. How about
nobody thinks back to the 2016 October one. When the moment we met, you could see. I don't want to copyright.
Yeah, well, how about weird or cool trailer?
Yeah, because I guess
cool with acting.
Because the acting trailer of Nintendo Switch back in October of 2016, nobody would call that a skit, but that is a commercial. So what's the line between commercial and skit?
Right.
Like
for example, the Muppets thing, right? Like that was technically it was a skit, but it was also a trailer with acting in it.
Yeah.
Like,
So there you go. I think I think it's a little bit too powerful of an option because you're almost lumping in two things, but whatever.
Yeah,
Skit slash
blame YouTube for only giving us 4 poll options.
true.
So
But that would be
this is it for right now, right? So I'm asking, how do you want Nintendo to open the Switch 2 Direct? And the 4 options they got: new game announcement trailer, Nintendo executive in suit, look back at history leading to now, weird or cool trailer with acting. I'm hitting it.
let's do it.
All right, let's see what everyone in chat would prefer.
What do I even vote for?
I don't know what I vote for.
Like if they opened up, you lifted up your shirt with Star Fox. If Star Fox was it, I would probably lose my mind because when we collabed on the Star Fox idea video together, it's like it's the most powerful non-existent. It's the most powerful currently non-existent / relevant Nintendo IP that they have, in my opinion. Like the most underutilized one that has the greatest potential going forward with a TV show, a movie, a cartoon, a new line of toys, a game. It's Star Fox over anything else, aside from the ones that are being used, like Mario and Zelda.
Sure, right.
If they opened up with like some kind of montage thing of, Nintendo Switch games, or like 2D Mario, sprite evolving, early 3D polygonal, into Wii era, into Wii U, into GameCube, into Nintendo Switch, and then like, bam, the first thing they showed was into like Smash Bros. Style, how they kind of go from this to this, and then it's just Mario in this open freaking world, and then like, oh man, new 3D Mario, and like, dude, that's how they did it. That would be epic too.
I think I know what I want it to be. I think I want it to be the weird or cool trailer with acting, because I think I just want them to give me a lot in a short amount of time. Because, all right, hear me out, right? So basically, but like you're talking, I know it's kind of leaning away from the skit element, but that could still be mixed in. There could be a motif of that if they wanted it. But really, I just kind of like the idea of seeing quick little looks at different games. I'm like, oh my god, that, right? So like, imagine. It's basically kind of like what we want the initial first look trailer to be, right? Like it's actors using the Switch 2 in different ways, and we see different games in there, right? And so there might be like a 2-second clip, right, where someone's playing something, and we see an R-Wing just like fly through this beautiful space, and we're like, holy crap, it's Star Fox! Like we just see 2 seconds. Where do you know Star Fox is coming, right? Like, and maybe there's another part where we don't even see it. We just see them. We see them sitting on a couch, and there's like a glow, but we hear the Zelda chime, and we're like, "What is that?" Right? Like that's the level of excitement. Like that energy there, times 3. That's where I'll be at. Maybe 7. Anyway, I know that's quite a range. I'll be extremely excited, and then there could be another part where we do see someone sitting at a desk, almost like a PC setup. They're doing the mouse and keyboard, and then you hear Samus's like arm cannon blaster, and then we see like Samus duking it out, right? And she's like grabbing like Ridley's face, and like it'll be crazy. Like they could just continue to do like little cool things like that. Like maybe even almost more like, remember the Nintendo Revolution trailer? Where we saw them playing different games, and we would see them do cool stuff with the controls. Like there was a part with Metroid. There was a part with Mario. They did the Mario Galaxy thing. Like at first there was like a girl on a couch, and she just did this, and you're like, what is that? That looks kind of weird. But then we hear the effects, and then we see. I might be combining 2 different trailers, but there is that moment where we finally see Mario Galaxy, and it's just like, holy cow! That's running on the Wii. Are you sure? Right? Like. I'm so waiting for that moment for 3D Mario. That might even be that might be like the closer.
Dang. Yeah. The other cool thing is, oh man, I love my numbers. I am ready for this thing to shatter all YouTube gaming records of most amount of views in 24 hours. Like skyrocket to 20 million. Like right.
Bro, imagine the Star Fox trailer, 10 million views.
The show will be watched by a lot. It'll probably be the most, live streamed event of any Nintendo Direct ever. But the a la carte videos that go up after, when they take that Star Fox one and then they throw it up in its own 2-minute trailer. That beautiful 3D Mario one or Zelda one or whatever else. Or like Nintendo Prime just said, a new IP, a Monolith Soft. Here's your
Bro,
next,
that's a yo. But what if that's the opener? Like what if they
like,
do a new game and
this,
because the thing is, we won't know what it is because it'll be a new IP.
it would be
We'll be
so
trying to
cool.
figure out the entire time.
We wouldn't know. I keep looking back to that awesome art of Monolith Softs of the woman with the sword and it's looking
Right.
kind of, you know what I'm talking about.
I use it in today's thumbnail for my video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that art and I like the possibility of, I think that's going to be a launch year game. Like kind of like how Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out,
Yeah.
within the launch year.
Let me ask you about that though.
That would be dope.
Let me ask you about that because Monolith Soft is releasing Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition.
Yeah.
Next week, actually, right?
Yeah.
A week from now, March 20th. So we're extremely close to that. It's a big remaster. It's got new content in there, new areas to explore, a lot of quality of life updates, some visual changes. Like it wasn't. So my point is it wasn't like a simple. Like if it was just like a straight port with no new content, then I'd be like, all right, easily there could be another game this year, right? But this is not like a. This is a definitive edition. Like it's a proper one, right?
Yeah.
Like sure, it's not a significant visual leap over the original because the Switch is only a little bit more powerful than the Wii U, but there's still new content and stuff like that. Like it clearly has had work done.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure that you're willing to predict? I'm not saying you're making a prediction, right? We're speculating, throwing out ideas, but like, how confident are you that they would have another game in the same year or coming out relatively soon, like within 12 months?
I think the bulk of that Monolith Soft team moved on after Future Connected, which came out post Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
They finished that faster than we thought they would.
To their next project. Most of that team wasn't doing Xenoblade Chronicles X. A portion of it, sure, but
sure.
I'm sure that some of them also probably went off to help Nintendo. Well, I say Nintendo. It all is Nintendo, but
they got multiple studios. The one focuses on code development.
Working on the next Zelda, working on, we could use your help in this place and this place. Like, so I wouldn't be surprised at that, but I think running in parallel was probably for years this other IP alongside Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and then that more team went to here. So like Nintendo was in such a beautiful position that they didn't have to rush games this generation. They had, I remember like the Tears of the Kingdom thing was, take your time. It was almost done a year ago. It spent like 11 months fine tuning. New Super Mario Bros. Or not new, just Super Mario Brothers Wonder. It was
no deadline.
Take your time.
They had no deadline.
Take your time.
Yeah.
Because
Prime Remastered was done for like a year and a half,
right,
before it released. Same thing with Fire Emblem Engage.
Yeah. So I think that probably there wasn't this dire need to bust out this new IP from Monolith right away. So hey, let's keep just cranking on it. Don't lose steam. Have a certain amount of people constantly working on it. More join in for these assets and these assets once Future Connected is done. Okay, some team going towards X remake or X HD definitive edition. So I am, a little bit boldly on this one saying I think we do see that one within 12 months, even though there is some pull away from it thanks to X. Maybe that's a little bit too wishful thinking, but
well, let me give you a little bit more optimism. And maybe you've heard about this part already, right? But are you familiar with the Midori code names?
Yeah.
Right. So
refresh me because I
read
it.
Midori is a leaker who was primarily responsible for like Sega Atlas stuff, right? They were extremely consistent with those leaks, extremely consistent, right? Like I would say probably one of the greatest leakers of all time, right? Like it wasn't just the fact that they weren't 100% reliable, but it was well above 90, right? Like it was very reliable, and it's just kind of like, you don't get everything right. But there was a lot. I think that's the other part. It wasn't just the consistency of being correct. It was the quantity in which information they would put out. But they wouldn't do Nintendo too often, but they did do these codename leaks in last year. It wasn't that long ago, right? And so there were several code names that they leaked out. They leaked out a code name for the Switch 2, which we now know is Ounce, right? Like that's been confirmed because of the Game Freak leaks and other stuff. So that was confirmed. They also leaked. Do I still have a page up? Because there's it was codename Edward, which was for a Zelda project, which has also been confirmed. Echoes of Wisdom, right? There was another one for Mario Party Jamboree. I'm trying to remember the name of the code, like the code name. I don't. Do I have it? Yes, Banquet. Yeah. So there was Banquet. So Banquet, Edward, and Ounce have already been confirmed, right? But there were others. Yu King O is supposed to be for an enhancement to Breath of the Wild.
Right.
Anna is supposed to be a follow-up to Switch Sports. Silver Star, and when Midori put out this one, said they don't know quite what's happening with this one, right? But Mario Odyssey was called Red Star. And so there's this other Silver Star project we were unsure of. And to be clear, SP Red is another code name, and that's believed to be the 3D Mario project for Switch 2. We don't know what Silver Star is. I've theorized it's Donkey Kong, a Donkey Kong game made with the Odyssey engine, but that's just a theory. And then there's also Spiral, which is believed to be the next Splatoon title, and then there's Legacy from Monolith Soft. And so the reason I bring these up, right, is because I'm under the impression that all these codename projects are not like things that are far off into the distance. They're all coming out relatively soon. Hence why we saw both Edward and Banquet last year. And the others, we haven't seen them yet because they're being saved for Switch 2. So like we could literally know like what the Switch 2 launch year lineup is. It could straight up be a Breath of the Wild remaster, a 3D Mario, whatever the Silver Star project is, Monolith Soft's next game, a Switch Sports, and a Splatoon game. Like that sounds kind of pretty much like along the lines of what we got in 2017. You throw in Pokemon Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4 having cross-gen versions, that's a really that's an extremely strong first year. I would spread that out across 12 months, just for the record. I don't know if that all comes out in 2025. But I guess my main point is that if these titles are indeed coming soon, then that gives me some optimism that that Legacy project is that new IP Monolith Soft has been working on throughout the entire Switch era.
Yeah.
Which they somewhat recently took down. They had a job hiring page on their site for like the entire Switch era, like the entire 8 years almost. And they replaced it with a new RPG hiring page. So it means one of two things. They're no longer hiring for that project because they're not doing it anymore, or they're no longer hiring for that project because they don't need to hire for that project anymore because they're close to done.
Yeah. I think good stuff is coming. It's this has been peak Nintendo for the company that, resurrected the video game industry, that really made it bigger than anything that it could have ever been prior. And each generation, regardless of the sales, has always been pioneering technology, pioneering new ways to play, genres themselves, etc. They really hit their best ever in the Nintendo Switch era, in my opinion, with hardware design, success in marketing, clear message delivery, third-party management, relationships, other Nintendo adjacent adjacent companies that have other forms of medium of entertainment that they collabed with, such as Lego and stuff like that, and Nintendo theme parks. But just even from a pure game development standpoint, I think they're operating at their best. My new favorite game of all time came out this generation, and that's somebody that's been gaming a long time. Breath of the Wild is the one. And even Mario, I'm like, gosh, I think Super Mario Odyssey is my favorite Mario game too. And Smash Brothers, it is Ultimate as my favorite. So I think Kirby, and Luigi's Mansion 3 is my favorite of those trilogies. There's a lot of good. Yet I think they have yet to reach the top of the summit. I think They climbed higher up that mountain than ever before this gen. The mountain's a little foggy on the top, and Nintendo's about to blow um, uh, the fog away, and they're
There's
like,
gonna be another giant mountain,
we're climbing up even higher.
and then there's gonna be in space.
Yeah,
We're going to the moon, baby.
They had some struggle years transitioning well between this medium and that medium, between this level of processing power and going HD. But they've taken longer time right now working on this system that I don't think, I mean, even though the 4K era for them is a little bit later, just like the 1080p era for them was a little bit later. That one they got impacted harder on. They were not ready, despite being pros in the biz, to make that jump and to allocate that many more tools. They're opening up.
They took their time with the Switch. Maybe that's part of the reason why, because they needed to make sure they were ready.
And hey, it's going to take longer to make these Nintendo Switch 2 games. The more successful and the longer lasting Switch is, the longer we can stall and have a more successful launch and a more successful lineup. Because I do think that their output is going to be less plentiful on Nintendo Switch 2. I don't think we'll have as many first-party games, like let's say in the first 5 years from Nintendo as Nintendo Switch had. Just because I think the games are going to each take longer, but I don't think it's going to be felt too negatively because they have been taking longer to make it. So in the end, it will balance off. In the end, with there being a whole new Nintendo studio opening up in Japan, the one adjacent to their base HQ, it's going to be solid. Plus, they finally found a way how to manage past titles successfully. GameCube could have benefited from some Super Nintendo ports or some GameCube or some N64 up-res titles.
Right.
You could have done this on Wii and had...
Imagine that Majora's Mask did have a GameCube. I mean, it technically did, but yeah. It was
Here's Super Mario Sunshine, and you could play it on Wii. And now you could move FLUDD around with your Wii remote. The Nintendo of today does that.
They started the Wii Play Control series, actually.
Yeah.
On Wii.
But
there's a little bit.
The Nintendo of, yesterdecade, they didn't do this kind of thing. And I think those kind of fillers in between will be very attractive. I've thought about it for a while. Like, as of this July, there will be a greater gap between Twilight Princess Wii U and now than Twilight Princess from GameCube/Wii to the Wii U HD remake. So I'm thinking maybe that one is going to be... I'm diving off topic right now, but I'm just thinking that one might be more significant. Well, it would be more significant if it was a remake because you waited 10 years before and you went from 480p to 1080p and boom, you're just going to port that now in a longer gap?
That is crazy to think about how it's been, at this point, it's been 9 years.
Yeah, July is going to pass from the Wii release to the Wii U release in time. And
we're just asking for the same game for 2016. We're not even asking for really an improvement. We're asking for the same game. That's crazy.
And is that good? The fact that bare minimum would satisfy people, I think, more impressive because you're also going to be releasing this game in a 4K Nintendo era. It's not going to stand out as much. So that's why I've been sort of on the train of, gosh, maybe Twilight Princess is this remake kind of version. And if it's not super taxing, maybe it comes out on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. Wind Waker, that's another one where soon it's going to be this really long... Actually, no, I think the gap is longer at this point. Maybe that's the...
2013... 12? No, 2013. Yeah.
That's a 10-year gap from the Japanese release of it. No, a little over 10, because Japanese release came out like November 2002, and we got it, I think, in March 2003.
Yeah, it was like November, I think it was November or December 2002 in Japan. America was like March 2003. So yeah, but either way, it's been more than 10 years. But it was a 10+ year gap from original to that, and I mean at this point it's been what, 12 plus?
No.
So since Wind Waker HD. Here's another one. Here's another one for you. Ocarina of Time came out in 1998. right? And they waited
Yeah.
a long time to give us the enhanced
3DS.
remaster. It's a remaster. The devs call it a remaster. The box says a remaster. It's literally a remaster. Came out 2011, right?
13 years,
13 years.
and it's been
It's
14
been more
now.
than 13. It's been 14 years since then, right? And I think we are getting a Zelda remake for the 40th anniversary in 2026. I think more signs point towards Ocarina of Time, but hey, I'll take a Twilight Princess remake. You know, my dream scenario is, right, we get like a 4K upscaled Wind Waker because it ages well regardless, right?
Yeah.
Maybe this year for Switch owners, right? Because not everyone, you know, you gotta still appeal to Switch owners a little bit. Obviously, backwards compatibility, you know, there you go, right? It wouldn't be 4K otherwise. But 40th anniversary, you get maybe Ocarina of Time remake. Then, you know, that's when we start worrying about the next new 3D Zelda. But then after some years pass, we're like, hey, we know you really enjoyed Ocarina of Time, since 20 million of you bought it. Here's Majora's Mask remake, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, once we're talking about Switch 3, Twilight Princess remake.
Yeah.
And by that point, the Zelda cycle will be like, hey, remember how good Skyward Sword was? Said no one. Okay, that's a joke because I love Skyward Sword. But Skyward Sword is not the most celebrated 3D Zelda. It's probably the least celebrated 3D Zelda.
Yeah. But they've got some cool dates coming up, and you know, they don't operate just on anniversaries, but sometimes it just makes sense. Sometimes it's just too big to avoid. I think
Mario 40th anniversary, 3D Mario Kart movie next year. Like,
I can
come
see
on.
that. I can see that. Zelda anniversary next year is the 40th.
Right.
2028 will be the 30th of Ocarina of Time. Also, I mean, this is just based off of, dang, I like the way the number looks, is Zelda movie dropping Christmas Day 2026. That would make it 8 months after the Mario sequel, though. Is that too little time? I don't think so. I think 8 months apart is enough time for both to be celebrated.
Look at Marvel, bro. Look at Marvel, bro. Look at Marvel. Yeah, they dominate the movie industry. Like, they're basically a genre. Like, you know, Nintendo can put out 2. They'll be okay. Although I think I kind of assume we'll have to wait a little bit later. Like, I was thinking maybe like just April 2027 for the movie, which is still not that far away. But I mean, it's also live action. Like, it should not take as long as a Mario movie. Live actions do not take as long to make.
Yeah.
So, maybe you're right.
But
I at least think we're going to get news on the Zelda movie in 2020. Even if we don't, like, even if it doesn't come out, we're at least going to get like a cast revealed, maybe the first trailer of it. Like, we're going to get Zelda movie news for the 40th anniversary. I believe that for sure. So I want to check out some super chats, and I actually haven't really talked about the Star Fox thing yet. So like we got some stuff to talk about. So here's a super chat from Taker610. Thank you for the super chat, Taker. It says, no February Direct materialized. I assume Nintendo will provide details on Switch games yet to come out while focusing mainly on Switch 2. So I had a thought on this. You know, Nintendo can put out a partner showcase or like do a social media drop at any point, but the closer and closer we get to the Switch 2 event, like once I don't know how many people I've said this a million times already, but once April 2nd comes around, there's going to be such a big media marketing blitz for Switch 2. I don't think it really makes sense to make any sort of grand announcements for Switch 1 during this period of time for at least a little while. Maybe not until June, if not later. And so I think we're in a weird situation because Nintendo has not announced any Switch 1 titles yet.
Mm-hmm. After
Xenoblade next week, we don't have any specific release dates for anything. Like, yes, Prime 4 and Legends Z are coming out this year. We know Legends Z is coming out late into the year. But we don't have any specific release dates. And this actually goes back to some speculation. I don't want to call it a theory because I'm like, I believe Mario Kart's a launch title, but I am open to the possibility it's not the only launch title. So, like, what if Metroid Prime 4 is also a launch title? Because if it is, and Switch 2 comes out in May, guess what? Not only do you have the 1-2 punch of Mario Kart and Metroid, maybe one of the best launch combos ever, right? You also have a huge Switch 1 game in May, and it doesn't take away from the Switch 2 launch at all because it's Metroid Prime 4 because it's a launch title for both. I mean, like that. It might do you understand what I'm getting at here, Paul? Like,
Oh
you
yeah.
put out like
Oh yeah.
any other like Switch 1 game, like it wouldn't make sense with the Switch 2 marketing, but the one Switch 1 game that would make sense with the Switch 2 marketing is Metroid Prime 4 because there could also be a cross-generation version. You still come out on the same May 15th, right? Metroid Prime 4 Mario Kart come out same day, right? But it still comes out for Switch 1. So for those who are not ready for Switch 2 yet, they can still play Metroid Prime 4. And for those that are worried, oh, what if Metroid Prime 4 doesn't sell well? Well, one, it's going to be made available for Switch 1. So that it already has that advantage of sales, right? Yeah. But then two, if there's ever a time to release more than one major Nintendo title at a time, it is launch day. Historically speaking, Nintendo has always put at least 2 titles that they've published, sometimes 3, on day 1. Now, do I think, like, I still gotta concede that Metroid Prime 4 the same day as Mario Kart seems like a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. I feel like maybe they'd save it for like June. But my point simply is, in terms of getting out a Switch 1 game during this big Switch 2 craze, Metroid Prime 4 makes a lot of sense. So maybe what makes more sense, Metroid Prime 4 does not come out in May. It comes out June. But in May, maybe they drop Metroid Prime 2 and 3, so you can play that on Switch 1, right? Still is a part of the marketing for Metroid Prime 4, which also in turn fits into the Switch 2 marketing. And you can still play that on Switch 2 thanks to backwards compatibility. That's just an idea I'm throwing out there because I am very confused on how Nintendo's going to handle Switch 1 moving forward. There's a little bit of a gap that they need to answer to. And maybe they answer it by simply announcing next week, hey, Kirby Planet Robot's coming out in May. You know, like it's just something as simple as that.
I think and hope, and I don't think it's delirium. I think it's decent likelihood that Nintendo Switch has a couple years left of Nintendo releases on it, but it is through shared ports / HD remakes of older titles that also come out on Nintendo Switch 2. It's just stuff that isn't dependent on raw horsepower, like Metroid Prime 2 remake or
like that rumored Fire Emblem, sure, yeah,
or maybe Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. Maybe it is still a Switch game. It's going to be late, but when you play it on Switch 2, it's in 4K with a little bit better textures or whatever. Wind Waker, simultaneously, and we also don't know Twilight Princess, because even if Twilight Princess was remade with the graphical prowess of what Nintendo Switch is capable of, remade and not just re-HDified, right? Just a Wii U port, remade. Even that would look significantly better than what we got on Wii U. Because the Wii U one, it wasn't like they dropped a ton of new textures. They didn't take advantage of the gap in power between Wii / GameCube and Wii U to make Twilight Princess HD, So even if they remade that game, that would be something that could come out on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 and just look better on the latter. But we also have yet to figure out to know how is Nintendo going to handle the backwards compatibility, and will all games by default on the console level with DLSS just play and look better? Or is it going to be a developer, one thing at a time where they have to go in? I think they're going to have to
go back and I think that's what it's going to be. Like there might be some games that do perform a little so any game that has like a choppy frame rate or a dynamic resolution, maybe games like those will run a little bit better.
Simple enough.
A lot of AAA. Yeah. But they won't have 4K or 1440p. They'll just run closer to what the max settings in theory could be for Switch without a patch. But the Nintendo can also still go back and patch certain games. Like the whole Yu King O thing for Breath of the Wild. Personally, I think it makes more sense just to have maybe you want to put out a physical release for it. That's fine. But also offer a free upgrade or a cheap paid upgrade for people who already own Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Then maybe they go back and do that for several games. It could be kind of like the other, another layer of maybe like NSO, just in the sense that You know, like every few months, Nintendo's like, hey, here's another NSO game. Here's another NSO game for this platform, for this platform. It may not be NSO per se, but just like every few months they had like, hey, so here's a little thing for this week. It's Tears of the Kingdom 4K, or it's Smash Ultimate 4K, or Luigi's Mansion 3 4K. Like they just kind of every few months add another one to the library.
Yeah. It's also curious thought of like how third party titles are going to be, because some could just, like you said, maximize the potential of what it could have been before in terms of resolution on the base platform and frame rate on the base platform. But what if, like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot? Dragon Ball Kakarot. But the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot game, you know, the open adventure Zelda-like game for Nintendo Switch, Kakarot.
Yeah.
The Nintendo Switch version was basically very comparable to the Xbox One PS4 version until the Xbox Series X PlayStation 5 version of that game got this updated within it visual overhaul to take advantage of the new system. That takes a lot more developer work. What if you have Dragon Ball Kakarot on Nintendo Switch and you plug that one into Nintendo Switch 2? Is it like for free? Yeah, you'll be playing the game on better resolution and better frame rate that Nintendo Switch had, maximizing it. Or if you want, for a $5 upgrade, you throw in that old cartridge, you play that old, digital copy, and it's for $5 more, you get the souped up version because that took more developer time. Is that fair? What is fair? 5, 10? Hogwarts Legacy. There's a quite significant difference between Hogwarts Legacy. It runs capable, it runs fine, it's the whole game, but to bring it up to what the other systems had, you are doing
there's better
a lot more work than just, well, let's crank up the filters. It's different geometry put in, it's different areas. Is that a $5, $10 thing? Do you have a SKU that is just, buy this one cartridge, that thing is going to work just on Nintendo Switch 2, or upgradable for people? Like it's become very interesting to see, but basically the whole thought process is, I think Nintendo Switch is going to be fine for another couple of years for people that can't yet buy NS2, and that's because it's going to be ports and remasters of games that don't take a lot of horsepower that Switch can still handle while looking better on Nintendo Switch 2, and they will time those releases strategically so that Nintendo Switch 2 doesn't have any gaps, because it's going to take longer to make Nintendo Switch 2 games, but the gaps will be mitigated by these ports in between, and those ports will satisfy the Switch crowd, and no gap in Switch 2. That's a lot of talking, but I'm trying to see how Nintendo's going to operate.
I mean, like I could see a month or like Fire Emblem Remake comes out, right? And there's no exclusive Switch 2 title that comes out from Nintendo, but it's Fire Emblem Remake, right? Which is for both platforms. Or like Metroid Prime 4, or like Pokemon Legends ZA, right? Like all those can take up a month, that's totally fine. It's something else that it kind of occurred to me as you were kind of talking about like some of these third-party games and having that there's already next-gen versions available for other platforms. Like maybe they put on those patches, right, on Switch 2. But like here's another example. It's like Fortnite. Fortnite, like you're gonna be able to play Fortnite probably day one on Switch 2 because it's backwards compatible digitally and physically. So are they going to make sure that the Switch 2 version of Fortnite is what it should be, or are we going to be playing the really not so good looking low frame rate Switch 1 version on Switch 2 day one?
Dang, right? I think that's one that
they kind of need to make sure that it's ready day one, don't they?
Definitely. I'd say there's no way you're going to turn on Nintendo Switch 2 for the first time and carry over your Epic Games account and play Fortnite having it look like it did on Nintendo Switch. That's right. It's got to be.
You would think. But also, like, that's not up to Nintendo. That's up to Epic Games. And if they don't care.
Fortnite is too big. It's too strong. It's too relevant still. It's still
also free. Like, if people are going to pick up a new console, they may not want to buy every game. Like, that's something they could just, like, when I bought my PS5, one of the first games I downloaded was Fortnite. Because, like, all right, well, I play Fortnite sometimes. I actually haven't played in, like, over a year. But I don't remember the last time I played. But when I got my PS5, I made sure I downloaded Fortnite is my main point, right? I at least saw how it looked on the console. Like, I
quite
just kind
good.
of think, yeah, it did. But
Quite
I think it does make sense to at least make sure that you have a good version for available immediately. So yeah, I think stuff like that. But going back to Taker's question, it says no February direct materialized. As soon as it will provide details on Switch games yet to come. I don't really expect us to get like a Wind Waker HD announcement or a Kirby Planet Robot announcement in the Switch 2 Direct, right? But games like Metro Prime, games that have cross-gen versions, Metro Prime 4, maybe they confirm that some Switch 1 games will have Switch 2 patches, right? So there might be some details like that. But yeah, like that's basically what I think. You know, especially if Switch 2 is coming out May or June, like there may not be another major like Switch 1 game until Switch 2 comes out. So whatever games they have in the Switch 2 Direct, if it is cross-gen, then, by extension, it would also be relevant for Switch 1. But I don't think that's going to be like the main point. Like there's not going to be like a section where like, hey, here's our Switch 1 games lineup. They're not going to do that unless they call it, here's our cross-gen lineup. And then kind of. But I want to move on though, because I got other super chats to get to here, and then I still haven't really talked about it. Yeah,
we met today to talk about Star Fox.
Yeah, well, we just kept going.
Yeah.
We just kept going. Joycey J with another super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Joycey. Best case scenario. In contrast to the worst case scenario from earlier. New Zelda, new Bayonetta, my dream with a perfect opening game. I will cry happy tears and bless the rains down in Africa. That would be amazing. I'm actually very curious to see how Bayonetta 4 would look. But, I'll even say, like, Bayonetta 3 had some issues on Switch. I think it would be nice. That would be one of the games I think would be a prime candidate to have a Switch 2 enhanced version.
Yeah, Nintendo Switch 2 could be a second life for some games that, had a little bit of a struggle. Yeah. I loved Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I played the heck out of it.
Imagine a 60 FPS version.
But I think, you would
nice.
You would satisfy a different crowd there. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope is another one that, didn't really have too many issues performance-wise, just came out at a time where I didn't get to optimize the sales. So, Mortal Kombat 1, that's another one that I'm seeing in the chat. Like, another good point of, here's the souped-up version. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Next super chat, Netweed09. Thank you for the super chat. It just hit me. What if Mario Kart 9 was the Mario 40 celebration and Switch 2 first game reveal rolled into one? What could be the other if not 3D Mario? I just want to make sure I understand the question. Just to me, what if Mario Kart 9 was the Mario 40th anniversary celebration and Switch 2's first game reveal rolled into one?
Like,
well,
what if Mario Kart, the next Mario Kart, is the 40th anniversary celebration that they have in mind, and happens to be the first game shown off? Well, it was the first game shown. We know it's at least that.
Well, I do believe that both. All right, so this is what I kind of envision is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, right? This is just an idea I'm throwing out there, but I think it kind of makes sense. I think Mario Kart's gonna be a launch title, right? Let's assume Switch 2 comes out in May with Mario Kart, right? They might mention the 40th anniversary by this point, but they also might not mention the 40th anniversary until September of this year, because that's technically when the anniversary is. When we go back to the 35th anniversary, they didn't announce this. They had a September 35th anniversary direct then. And so what's interesting about this is they could use the September Direct as an opportunity to have a more significant showcase of 3D Mario launching for the holidays. At this point, they probably would announce some sort of update for Mario Kart, because let's be clear here. When Mario Kart comes out, be it May, June, or whenever, it's not going to be the last we hear of this game. Like, the game's probably going to have DLC. There's going to be recurring updates. So in a 40th anniversary Direct, let's say September of this year, right? That's when the actual anniversary is. They could still have a Mario Kart section talking about Mario Kart. They can talk about 3D Mario. They could also give us details on the next Mario movie. It's happening in April, next April. So, like, we're going to probably have to get a trailer for the movie this year. Might make sense to even put that in the Direct, or at least give us some details there. So I don't like that. That's just an idea. I don't know if that's the direction they're going to go. But I do think of both Mario Kart, 3D Mario, and the movie are going to be 3 key pieces in the Mario 40th anniversary campaign, which I do think there will be one. Yeah. Do you agree, Paul? Do you think they're going to actually like do something for the 40th anniversary, or is it just going to be like on Twitter, hey, 40th anniversary, have a good day? Also, here's Mario games.
I think so.
You think it's be bigger?
Yeah. I like optimistic me wants them to do. Optimistic me wants to see something that probably isn't going to happen, but I think something like it will, and that is Super Mario Galaxy 2 remastered, done Metroid Prime remastered style, and
my god,
and that's why
my god,
that's why it didn't show up in 3D All Stars. Galaxy 2 remastered Metroid Prime style. And either that would satisfy its own $60, I think.
Galaxy 2 with PBR, bro? With that physical-based rendering? Are you serious?
Or even better is that remastered one plus 3D Land HD. And there you have a beautiful pairing of a new 3D All-Stars, and that's well worth $60. And that's for Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2.
That's interesting.
And then later on, you have, if that happens this later year, then I don't think you get a brand new Donkey Kong game. I spoiled it. You don't get a brand new 3D Mario game exclusive for Nintendo Switch 2 this year. You get a Donkey Kong around November, and then you get the next big 3D Mario game later. You know what I mean? Like, so you need some breathing room between this remastered version port thing and this new Mario game. You know, rewind a little bit to just March 10th, and I was like, dang, would it be so cool if the game that I just explained, that 2-in-1 pack, was revealed 3 days ago and coming out May. And then I would say, hey, if that happens, then yes, I still think that there's room for a 3D Mario in November. But since that didn't happen, my other scenario is like, can I still have my cake and eat it too? Can I still have this 3D Mario pairing of Galaxy 2 and 3D Land, and then also a new 3D Mario just for Nintendo Switch 2 in the same calendar year? No, within a 12-month window, yeah. But I also really, really want a new 3D Mario game.
I think just for like the success of the console though, like 3D Mario is really important to have for that holiday.
I think I want that for the holiday. That would be more.
You know, what if they give us that Galaxy 2? You know, in like early next year, like closer to the movie.
What if that one's later? Yeah, like. But I do. The basic question was, is something going to happen for the 40th? Yeah, I think Mario is too big to avoid. Then again, we've been wrong before. Like sometimes they don't even say happy 25th anniversary to Ocarina of Time, and I was like,
yeah,
I mean, Zelda cool for the 25th anniversary of Ocarina of Time.
There is a difference from Mario's anniversary, though.
Yeah,
every 5-year interval, they do have a celebration. There is stuff that comes out. Right. It's not just like there's games, right? So I fully expect that there will be something. We already know about Mario. Like literally, they already have Mario Kart, probably 3D Mario. They don't need to have any more because those are the 2 of the biggest Mario games that will have come out in the last 10 years, probably. But they could do more. I've mentioned before, Luigi's Mansion 4, next level games. Like the last time they came out with a game was in 2022. They come out with games every 3 years. I'm not saying Luigi's Mansion 4 is coming out this year, but like they could show it off. Like that's another big one that could be ready pretty soon. So yeah, I think there's gonna be some big stuff. What it'll be, I don't know. But now I'm gonna be dreaming about Mario Galaxy 2 remade, like or remastered, like Prime 1. Oh gosh, that's I'm hot. Like that is so crazy to think about.
I dropped a cool one, huh? That was good.
Yeah. Mark Rousseau with a super chat. Ocarina of Time remake could be a pseudo sequel with the time travel events and places could play out differently. It is a very interesting idea. I think that's kind of almost approaching a little bit like what they did with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Mm-hmm. Personally, I'm not expecting too many changes if we get this because I feel like it's meant to be a stopgap before the next 3D Zelda. That said, I think there could be some things, right? And so, maybe there's a little bit there. Whatever if they do a pseudo sequel, I guess the other interesting thing is if once we start talking about a pseudo sequel, it almost becomes like, well, is this just like the next mainline game? Like, is the next mainline game going to go back to Ocarina of Time? It's like point in the timeline. Like that's a whole other. I don't think that's what they're going to do, but it is very interesting to kind of think about some of the changes a remake could have. There's definitely timeline stuff that I think they could play around with. Man, I want to see another dungeon. That light temple needs more than just, hey, I'm Raru. So, yeah. I do want to point out something else that Mark Rochot said earlier. Mark Rochot had said, will Samus be a playable character in Mario Kart? And I actually really like that idea. Especially if Metroid Prime 4 is coming out May or June, like either or. Like having Samus in that Mario Kart game will, it kind of help Samus out a little bit there. And what's interesting about it is that we've already seen 24 characters for this Mario Kart game. It's 24 racers at a time now, which is a much higher number. And so is it just going to be the 24 characters and there's no more? No, I'm pretty sure there's going to be extra characters, right? So, like, where do they pull from?
Yeah.
They might have to start pulling. They could probably get to 50 if they wanted to. Yeah, pink, gold peach, silver peach, right? Like, they could do stuff like that. But I think it does kind of add a little bit more pressure to bring in some other Nintendo characters. I'm not saying it's going to be so much. It's going to be like a Smash Kart. But, maybe more than just 4 or 5 Nintendo characters outside of Mario. Like, maybe it's closer to, like, 10. Like, maybe, like, we do see Samus. We do see Star Fox. We do see Link again. Princess Zelda joins the fray this time. No Ganondorf, though. I think there wouldn't be a Ganondorf. But Princess Zelda would be nice.
Does it also mean that thanks to this game at launch having other Nintendo characters in it, we get other Nintendo game stages to race in?
Oh yeah.
Like if you're gonna put Samus in there, you're gonna
there'll be a Metroid stage with Metroids in it, and they're hazards. Like they can try and like how like they have like the bats or like they'll have like Metroids that are hovering around and they grab onto. Like that would be so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that. Yeah. Maybe Ridley shows up at some point, just like. And on that token, like I said, there wouldn't be a Ganondorf, but there could be a Calamity Ganon. If there's like a Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom stage and there's a giant like dragon or like Calamity Pig Ganon smoke god cloud monster, right? Like, yeah, that would be awesome. All right. So we're at the 2-hour mark, right? I don't want to go on for much longer, but we have currently this live stream is clickbait because we have not talked about the IP revivals really. Right, so let's make sure this is not actually clickbait, right? Are there going to be some major Nintendo IP revivals in the Switch 2 Direct? That part I'm unsure of, but I do feel confident in at least saying that I think some IPs are coming back. I think Star Fox is coming back for sure. I think F-Zero is coming back for sure. Now, the Star Fox one is really interesting because somewhat, I think he's retired now. Yeah, he's retired. I think he's a freelance artist now, right? But it's Takaya Nomura. This person was the graphic designer for F-Zero, did a lot of designs for Zelda, Star Fox, has worked on other Nintendo IPs, Steel Diver. They've mostly worked on Star Fox, F-Zero, and F-Zero. Star Fox, F-Zero, and F-Zero. Star Fox, Zelda, and F-Zero. But they've done a lot, and recently they've been talking about. Let me see. I had an article somewhere. I'd throw it away. I probably did. I guess I did. Basically, Takaya Nomura believes that there's going to be a Star Fox movie. Mm-hmm. And he's not the first time we've kind of seen him come up lately. Like, there's been a lot of things Takaya Nomura said about Star Fox. Like, he's talked about how he thinks there will be a Star Fox game coming very soon. He's talked about how he thinks there's going to be a Star Fox movie. He's even asked Miyamoto that if he's working on a movie to bring him in to some extent. So none of this is confirmation, right? But it is kind of like hey, you have someone who's worked with Nintendo for years, who is no longer beholden to like NDA, right? Because he's not working with Nintendo. Like he could literally just say, hey, yeah, I think Star Fox is coming, right? He's not revealing any Star Fox project in development. And yes, I agree with Takai Mamura that Star Fox is coming. I do think it's interesting that we kind of missed the opportunity on Switch 1 to get a brand new Star Fox game.
Mhm.
I don't think we go a whole other generation without a new Star Fox game, and I'm willing to bet that's coming out sooner than later. I think we're going to see a new Star Fox game announced within the first, me being safe, within the first 3 years, but I think there's even a solid chance we see it in the direct. Like I think there's a chance, like and not a small one.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I like the 2 year, within the 2 year window or something like that, possibly in the direct. It would look very different. You want to capture people's nostalgia and love for the Nintendo Switch generation all over again, but also show something so different that separates this console. And by showing something like Zelda or Mario, that appeals to the masses and is like, oh man, that brings back the Switch emotions. But showing something like a Star Fox is, whoa, I haven't seen anything like this before. Because a lot of people don't have Star Fox love in their hearts because if the last game they played was Zero, or maybe they weren't alive when Zero came out, or
Came out in 2016.
dang, dude, that's like almost 10 years ago. So
And it sucked.
and
I mean, I liked it,
liked
but
it,
it
honestly,
is also the worst Star Fox game they ever came out.
it didn't sell that well. So the several 100,000 that own it are so small that a new Star Fox would look new to everyone. You know what I mean? It's like there's the unfamiliarity for most, but the impressiveness for all, and the love for a key chunk. So Star Fox is so good. You cannot not only have the lesser known IP. You need to sell the system to the Mario, Splatoon, Zelda, Animal Crossing, Smash Bros. Crowd. But yeah, I think the franchise revival, we will see more than just one or two.
Right, and it doesn't have to be a like an open world game, right? I think Astrobot's a great example. That's not a Nintendo game, right? But like it just sort of goes to show that you can have a double A, right? Like, I guess what they call it, a double A like project that it still looks awesome, still has really cool environments, really cool gameplay, can even win Game of the Year, right? If it's a cool idea. Like we don't need a Star Fox game that's like a 200-hour experience with a massive, super in-depth online live service, right? Open world space. Like all those things are cool. And if they want to do that, I'm for it. I'm willing to have those conversations, right? Like I've talked about, like, what if they just did a Starlink game, but it was actually Star Fox totally? Like that would be great. But like, they could go for something a little bit less ambitious than a giant open world space game. Like they can make, I mean, there was a rumor, the rumor comes from Samus Hunter, and right now I know everyone doesn't take Samus Hunter seriously. Like she's in the doghouse until something becomes right. But like, what if there is truly a Star Fox game with adventures like gameplay? That would be awesome. I would love that. I would love to play Star Fox with some dungeons, but there still needs to be a lot of flying, right? That needs to be like the primary thing. But if you want to have a lot of on foot stuff too, I'm for it, because I love Star Fox Assault. I love Star Fox Adventures. I think it's great to kind of show Star Fox in that way, because that's kind of encouraging Star Fox the character, right? Like if it's just in the R-Wings and the Landmasters, less focus on Star Fox the character. You have those third-party adventure elements, then, you can get that.
You take a page out of Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, I've played the Ratchet and Clank recently.
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was really sweet, and when I was playing that, I'm like, dude, furry talking humanoid like characters in outer space, and you've got Fox McCloud and an ability to upgrade his stats RPG like, or a little bit of wheels, or improve his blaster, improve his melee combat, improve his shield and his dash. You have him run fast and ninja like. You have communication with Falco and stuff. You do cool cinematics, kind of like from Starlink, and you go from foot into the R-Wing and fly up. And your hub is in the a Great Fox, and in the Great Fox, you could kind of pick stages to go to, and then you go boom, fly in the R-wing down. You have some space combat, you have some land traversal stuff, and you have some on foot stuff, and it's just this happy kind of story game that
Basically,
goes
Star
kind
Fox
of,
Assault, but better.
yeah, a modern take on Star Fox Assault, kind of a cross
Not
between
Star Fox Assault story. New story. We need a new story,
new
please, God.
story.
New story.
I don't think you need to reboot it again because Star Fox 64 was a reboot of Star Fox
Star
ish
Fox Zero was a reboot of
and a
that, and we also
reimagining
had
of that.
Star Fox 64 3D. 3D. Like it was, yeah. Nah, I'm
That's
good,
how you
bro.
do Star Fox, and you have, you know, sort of story heavy, and like you said, it highlights the character Fox McCloud. It's this ragtag group of folks it's Nintendo's Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's being slept on, and it's time for that to shine because you've got marketability factor. Everybody, kids, adults, everyone in between, likes humanoid, animalish kind of characters.
Like
It's
Nintendo might even like love. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Miyamoto saw Guardians of the Galaxy and was like, starts writing down his notebook. Okay, so this is the next Star Fox movie,
dang,
right? Like it just makes a lot of sense. It
yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
And if it's
I
got online multiplayer,
That's
a
what
lot. Oh,
that's where my bias kicked in. It was like, hey, this is great, but can we have multiplayer? Like, I know, like, I'm not saying it shouldn't be like it doesn't need to be a giant open world, but hey, if they could do it in Star Fox Assault, they can do it in a modern. Like, we're not asking for. I don't think it's too much to ask for that, right? Like, we're not like if it's like only like a 20 to 30 hour campaign, right? Like there are several missions that are pretty cool worlds to explore, right? But they're not giant, massive worlds. And you have a nice blend of on foot plus flying and landmaster segments, and then you have like team deathmatch and capture the flag stuff. That it's not crazy. It's not it's super doable, and if it's just like a really fun good game, it would work. Oh, by the way, flying around with the R wing with the mouse controls might work pretty well. Also, if it's a third-person shooter, might also work pretty well.
It's so cool.
Like it'll just work. Like you know how like they try to do so much with the Wii U gamepad like pointer stuff. That was a mess. Mouse Joy-Con 2, like that's just gonna work so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wilberforce Booster, I wouldn't mind a remake of Star Fox 2. If we're gonna remake any Star Fox game, that's the one I'll accept because that has very unique gameplay because there's like an ongoing battle with the map and you can play a role in how that goes on, and that's some cool stuff. Shout out to Lex, made to live stream. Glad to see you.
Nice.
Rico Lee, Star Fox traditional story has been done to death. The R-Wing gameplay is the only thing they need to revisit from the traditional Star Fox games. Do something fresh with literally everything else. It's a good point. It's a very good point. But let's do a barrel roll into another IP. F-Zero.
Yeah.
I think F-Zero's got to happen too. Now, listen. Mario Kart's probably a launch title. We already have footage for it. It is a Nintendo racing game. It is the Nintendo racing game, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because there are so many other Nintendo IP that are good racing games, and Nintendo has only used Mario Kart in the last like decade, and it sucks. Save for F-Zero 99. Like I want Mario Kart.
Yeah.
I love Mario Kart, but bring back the others. So my point is that we're probably not going to see F-Zero come out this year because we have Mario Kart. Like they're going to be very different, but I am skeptical that we would see two different Nintendo racing games in the same year when we've only gone Mario Kart in the last like 10 years. That said, I do believe that F-Zero is going to happen. I think with the new hardware, they could probably realize a really good quality version of F-Zero. Like it's kind of mind-boggling to me is F-Zero GX. I think it's actually a pretty visually impressive game. 30 racers in these large tracks, running at 60 frames per second with awesome particle effects. Like that was a GameCube game. And like imagining that for the Switch now, it kind of feels like there's going to have to be a compromise. Although you look at games like Fast RMX and they find a way to make that look really good, right? So I'm sure they could find a way to make it look good on Switch, but at this point, I don't think it's coming to Switch. I think it's a Switch 2 thing, unless there's still the F-Zero GX remaster that's been rumored. Either way, there's so much potential for F-Zero. And what's interesting is that you look at the new Mario Kart game, 24 racers online, we presume, right? Like F-Zero is 30. So, you know, I think the Nintendo Online standard will hopefully have caught up to what F-Zero should be. I mean, we had F-Zero 99, which is, 99, right? But that's Super Nintendo 16-bit visuals. We're talking about like a modern F-Zero game. But I think that there would definitely be... There would have to. It would be a disappointment if you could not do 30 racers online.
I think Nintendo could definitely have multiple racers on the system, stagger the release, have them look and play very different. Still sell one as your main one, but bring a different crowd in, and F-Zero would fit the bill. A little bit harder, much faster, different look, different vibe, different aesthetic. I think I shared this with you before, like not to distract from F-Zero, because that one I'm all on board with. You've got a cool story, you've got cool characters, it's all intergalactic space stuff, bounty hunter stuff. Well,
very marketable actually. Same like Star Fox, they're both very marketable. Like Nintendo can turn both these IP into bigger deals.
I think this is a pipe dream, but Nintendo Extreme Sports Racing. And you start off the game and you're jumping from a helicopter and you're skydiving down until you land on top of a mountain. From that mountain, you hop on your snowboard and you're gliding down the mountain, going back and forth until the end of the first third of the track. You land and you pop up and you flip on a jet ski. And you're going on this jet ski around the ocean or surrounding the mountain, back through a river, going up the mountain until you jump off and hop on a bike. And then now you are pedaling a motocross bike, and now you're going through the other part of the mountain, and that's the last third of the lap, and you're having big, beefy laps, and it is this combination of snowboarding, wave race for jet skis, and your Excite Bike motocross bike.
Instead of bringing back all these IP individually, they'll just combine into one game.
It's one game. It's a Nintendo Extreme Sports Racing, and that's the way the laps are done. They're big, beefy laps that are in thirds, to give you the satisfaction of each. If you want to just play the snowboarding ones in a row, you could play all 8 snowboarding stages, all 8 wave race stages, all 8 of the other ones, but you've got 24 different tracks. They're each based off of a different mountain, a different structure, maybe one big old island, maybe different islands that have it, different sunsets and stuff like that.
Not all of them have to be realistic. Some of them could be like really weird sci-fi fantasy-ish stuff too. And then, like, imagine wave racing around a plesiosaur.
Around a what?
Like Nessie.
Yeah. And since there aren't that many courses, I'm just saying 24, right? Not ambitious and plentiful nature of the courses. You make it for it in day-night cycles. Things look very different. You can play in the day, you can play in the night, you can play in snowing conditions, in raining conditions, and it adds different mud to the map here and different snow here and different ways to explore different secrets and stuff like that. Underwater thing, boom, like Nintendo Extreme Sports Racing. I made a video on it once. I'll have to send it to you if I didn't already. But I thought I share this idea with you before. But like,
I like it.
That would be so freaking dope. And
I would prefer to have Wave Race on its own, but I will take what I can get. And that would probably be really fun. I love the Excite series. I've never played the 1080 series, but I love the Excite series. I love Wave Race series. So you give me both. Bro, Excite Truck was one of the best launch titles ever, dude.
Yeah, that's another good one for on Wii.
On the Wii. Like, Excite Truck was kind of crazy because, let's take ourselves back a little bit here. Remember the narrative with the Wii. Underpowered console. Barely more powerful than the GameCube. Accurate. It's an accurate narrative, but Excite Truck was a launch title, and this game, it visually, like, you could tell that it stood itself apart compared to any other GameCube game. Like, it had more advanced textures and lighting effects, and the maps were huge. You could you could pretty much drive wherever you wanted. Destructible environments, the cars or trucks themselves would get destroyed. You could do all sorts of crazy tricks flying around. There were tons of crazy tracks. You could even import your own music if you wanted to. Like there was, it was a very like, it just wasn't what you would have expected from Nintendo in 2006. Like it was, I actually feel like it was a pretty ambitious game. It was so cool. I love the Excite truck. And then there was Excite Bots, which went super weird and wacky afterwards, which I didn't play it, but I know it's I've seen a lot of gameplay of it. It looked cool.
If you're curious, I just dropped it in the little chat because I don't know if you want a link in your main chat, but it looks like I made this video May 2021. So I had this idea floating in my head for a while. It's been 4 years. It's been over 4 years, but when I put my thoughts to paper or to video form,
this is the video that Paul.
That's when I did it, and it was just basically me talking about why this would be awesome to see.
Nice.
And I would, probably my thoughts would be better and more expressive now because I've had more and more time to sit on it. But that's when I made it, and I'm like, that would be such a cool game that would fit a different crowd. It would not compete with Mario Kart. Mario Kart's still going to sell just fine.
Could do really good in the esports department too, in theory. Or at least I can see it being included in like a Nintendo World Championships kind of like thing, because they like doing that. They could have their own tournaments. Like, bro, like what if it's like the next ARMS? Like ARMS is like a multiplayer competitive game they had in that first year. What if this is what they do instead? I would be so happy. You know what? I don't care. Give me more than one Nintendo Switch 2 racing game in the first year. I want one racing game per month. Please. Yeah. Mario Kart month 1, F-Zero month 2, Extreme Sports Racing month 3, and month 4 is Diddy Kong Racing Extravaganza.
And you think about it, remember I said you start off by skydiving? That sort of satisfies the pilot wings a little bit.
Bro. Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Nintendo has so much potential. Like, what's wild though is that they could have they have enough racing IP that they could put out one big racing game per year for every generation. They can just cycle through them. They don't. They should, but they don't. So it's unfortunate. Anyway, we've talked about reviving some IP. Do we think a new Donkey Kong game counts as an IP revival?
It hasn't been. I think if it's like 10 years without a new entry, or 15 for sure, that's an unused IP or a dead franchise or just a forgotten one. But DK,
Tropical Freeze came out in 2014.
That's 11 years. However, it had a port on Nintendo Switch, and then you've got Returns having a port on Nintendo Switch, and then you have DK in some capacity in Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and you have DK as a big polarizing figure in the DLC for Mario plus Rabbids.
Kingdom
the first
Battle.
one. You know, so I don't think it's a total revival, but as far as like a brand new entry, entry,
we're definitely overdue.
Yeah.
I guess you could also argue that like Mario Kart, we haven't gotten a new Mario Kart since 2014 as well.
Right. But DK will
they're reviving a new IP with Mario Kart.
DK will definitely happen this generation. And I say that not knowing, but just
3D or 2D.
Oh boy.
Call it now.
Dang. I'm gonna go with 3D just because I'm gonna have a little bit more wishful thinking.
Let's go.
2D is a little bit safer because there just have been more of them, but I'm gonna go with 3D because you also look at the Super Mario Bros. Movie. DK played a big role.
Yeah.
They're opening up a Donkey Kong Country Park. How do you not, once again, capitalize on what else is going on by also doing a new game? You would be throwing money away if you don't do a new game when you have a multi-million-dollar new park. That's wasted potential. Like, don't you want the new park to sell that new franchise, that character's titles? Or you just want people to come to the park? No, you want people to come to the park and be like, dude, Donkey Kong is so cool. Oh man, this minecart ride is so neat. Oh
Yeah.
wow, I like the whole banana thing. Oh, that Cranky Kong thing is a funny guy. Oh man, I wish there was a game to play that wasn't just something older, something new.
Donkey
Kong is
Kong,
definitely coming to this gen.
Donkey Kong Kart Racer, Mine Kart Racer.
Well, there goes your Diddy Kong Racing revival,
No,
or
it's different. It's Mine Kart Racer. It's all
Mine
on
Kart
mines.
Races.
Yeah, it's explosions and running into crystals. Actually, that could be a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Also, here's another one: Kirby Air Ride.
Mhm.
They got to bring that back. That was amazing.
We'll get more Kirby. Yeah.
Man, there's so many good Nintendo racing games, and they're all old because Nintendo doesn't give us. I don't know. They just don't like us anymore. Hopefully that changes with Switch 2. I think it's gotta. There's no way. I mean, we did get F-Zero 99, so technically, Nintendo's like, hey, at least F-Zero. It does feel like out of all the racing IP, right, the one outside of Mario Kart that has its best chance to make a comeback is F-Zero. All the others we may never see again.
Yeah.
But F-Zero has its best chance. Has the best chance. I mean, I don't even think it's best. I think it's a guarantee. It's just a matter of when, not if. And just for the record, they should do another wave race. Like they have to.
It would look so good these days.
And it's unique gameplay. Like wave race water physics are so impressive. It's a unique experience. It's not something you don't see anywhere else. So
yeah, Sony and Microsoft have their realistic racers. There are some arcadey things still that coming out here and there. Tony Hawk has a race-like element to it in the fact that you're on wheels and there's time challenges, but it's not a racing game. It's a open park arcade game. I love the THPS series. I'm looking forward to 3 and 4. But yeah, there's not really anything that's water-based and jet skiing. I'll have to be right back. Oh, by the way, just
okay. We're gonna end soon, so I'm gonna start some Q&A and then we'll wrap up when you're back.
Cool.
All right. So Natnael Justino. Hopefully I got pronounced your name correctly. Natnael Justino. Conquer Revival. Man, that wouldn't be a Nintendo IP because Microsoft owns them now. But dude, that would be awesome. I'd love to see Conquer come back. Oh, while we're at it, I'd love to see Banjo come back. I think we're gonna get it. I think there is a Banjo-Kazooie project that is rumored, so I'm waiting to see that one. Dark Dragon Destruction. I'm thinking we'll get F-Zero next year. I hope you're right. I honestly do. I think it makes sense. I feel like F-Zero's got to come soon. Maybe not this year because it's the launch year. We have Mario Kart, but next year, do it. Get F-Zero out early so you can take advantage of that that new console rush. Go, please, Nintendo. Please give us F-Zero. And the thing is, we got F-Zero 99. Like, I don't think we get F-Zero 99 if there's not something, that they have planned down the road. So, yeah, I think F-Zero is happening. Here, Lex asks, anyone going to the Nintendo Switch 2 event in LA? I wish I could go. And then now we have the San Francisco store opening in May. Like, I want to move to California now. Not actually, but I want to visit. Warforce Wooster, Super Mario Sunshine 2 Wave Race Edition. Okay, I'll check it out. Having Hope is asking, can we see Ruby? Once Paul comes back, I will fetch Ruby. Or I could fetch Ruby now. Chris Thorndike, racing is in my blood. There you go. Netweed09. I think this is what we were talking about with the extreme sports game, like having like a Wii Sports feel. That's an interesting point. Hey, Oh, look at that! Wow.
Quick change. That's the Nintendo Switch 2 shirt.
That's a really cool shirt you got there.
Thanks.
It looks pretty official too.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
That's a little inside.
Okay. All right. I want to point out, Marcus Show had asked about this earlier. I missed it. Basically Star Tropics. That's it. Star Tropics, and Star Tropics made a comeback, and I would love to see that. But that would be like a survival game, right? It would be interesting to see a modern Star Tropics survival game. Like it's you're on an island, right? Like, then you just kind of have, like, there are games like that, but seeing Nintendo put their own spin on it, that format because of Star Tropics, like I'd be down. I'd be very, very much into it. So, per Having Hope's request, I am going to fetch my Star Fox representative. We'll be right back. Feel free to show off that shirt. This is probably gonna take me another 15 seconds.
All right, you were good last time. Hope you've all been having a fun time tonight. I'm sure Andres will give me a little shout out later on where to find me and stuff, but I'll go ahead and introduce myself a little bit more just in case you don't know who I am, which, I don't blame you. I have a small YouTube channel myself, but I am Paul Gale Network on YouTube and X. And, if you like the conversation that Andres and I had tonight, then I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for having me on. Andres is an awesome guy, as you already know, because you're already fans of his community. And yeah, I love video games too. Big Nintendo fan. And look at the kitty is here. If I could get Mario right now, I'd get Mario and introduce
Don't leave me yet.
to Ruby.
No, don't leave yet. Where'd you go?
Oh no.
No.
But yeah. Welcome.
She was like, "You're not feeding me. I'm leaving." Well, you got a little bit of Ruby there.
I like the Paul takes off his shirt to show off his new Switch 2 tattoo on his right pec.
I missed it. Oh man.
The chat just went from like 170 or however many here to like 15,000. I just did it for a brief moment and
I'm famous. Look, Mom.
No, that didn't happen. But
Ruby freaked. That's why Ruby ran away because but she was sleeping. I just kind of picked her up. She's like, "Okay, what's going on?" And
you saw my Mario Day countdown video when I did it on March 10th. I don't know if you saw that one.
I haven't seen it.
So it was one of my many Nintendo Switch 2.
I've been seeing you've been doing the updates, but I didn't get a chance to watch it.
So the March 10th one, I was holding my cat.
Oh. Well, let's put it up. It was only a few days ago.
And that one was specifically because my cat's name is Mario.
There we go.
That's funny. Nintendo Direct. And happy Mario Day. March 10th. 23 days until the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct. And happy Mario Day.
The way it looped, I wasn't sure if it was another video, but it's a powerful cat you got there.
Oh yeah, he's a big boy. He's a good kitty.
Cats are cool.
Yeah. And you hear it here on Andres Restart's channel. I do have Peach the pug, which is our dog. And spoiler, I will be holding her in an upcoming video while I wear a Princess Peach shirt of some sort. Doing
Will it be a shirt or will it be a dress?
Oh, you'll have to find out. There's something in between too. So it might be something in between. But I will be doing one with Peach. Now, for most people out there, not like a ton of people are watching these in the first place, but for most that do watch it, it's like, cool, you're holding a cat. Well, because the cat's name is Mario. Cool, you're holding a dog, but the dog's name is Peach. So that's the little inside treat that you're getting here on
Mario and Peach.
Yep.
Do they like each other?
Dang, Peach always wants to play with Mario, but Mario's like not interested. He'll run away.
Oh, so he plays hard to get.
Yeah.
That
And
might be a good strategy.
He'll jump up on a place that Peach can't reach, and she'll be bark, 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 and he'll go. And then... But they get along ish.
Okay. Yeah, typical cat dog relationship.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So last super chat for the night, it looks like. Fuse the water hydrant to a shield and choose the kingdom and then wear it. It looks like Flood. Coincidence? The Zora mission was totally Mario Sunshine inspired. There's a lot of like things I'm like, oh, that was inspired by Mario. Like Bowser's Fury, for example, clearly had some Sunshine inspiration. I mean, they brought in Bowser Jr., and it was all water based, and there is all this sludge stuff. So, and it's also interesting considering that Mario Odyssey, there was like the whole Isle Delfino thing on the map, and that materialized into nothing. Yeah, and then of course we got Mario Sunshine and 3D All Stars, which is nice. But I'm okay with the remaster, but I would love to see a Mario Sunshine sequel or something of that sort. Lex, perhaps you remembered the song correctly. I'm not sure, but this one's still good. Ruby, Ruby, you're a cutie. We love you and your fluffy booty.
That's cute. That's cool.
Yeah, I like getting her butt and like shaking it left and right.
Cats are awesome.
Yeah. All right, Wilberforce Wooster asked me in the chat, did you find all the inspirations in Echoes of Wisdom? Did you decide which game it was most like? Did I ever talk about like looking through it all? Like, I mean, there's clearly a lot of Ocarina of Time references. There are also Breath F references as well, which is modern Zelda. I think those are the most. There probably are some more, but I remember there being a lot of Ocarina of Time references. I mean, we have the Deku Scrubs, for example. That's one thing that comes. There's a Deku Tree design, that's obviously it's. I mean, you can say it's definitely more so like Ocarina of Time than anything else. There are obviously, there are some similarities to A Link to the Past on top of that, but yeah, definitely some inspiration there for sure. They definitely put in some things. No, I mean, we had Volvagia. Like, as I think more, like I definitely had a video talking about some Ocarina of Time stuff. There's a lot, but like just off the top of my head, those are a couple. Yeah. Anyways, I feel like we've reached the end for tonight's discussion. I'm tired and hungry. I've only had a tangerine today, so I'm gonna go pig out and then watch an episode or two of ReZero and then go to bed. But Paul Gale, what do you got going on?
Well, every day. Oh, I don't know if you want to pull it up, but if you want to drop the link, I'd appreciate it, to the playlist. Every day from January 16th up until April 2nd, I have been and will be continuing to do a Nintendo Switch to Nintendo Direct countdown video. It's like 5 seconds. I put them on YouTube. I put them on X. I put them elsewhere, but that's where most of the attention is, where most of the views come from. On
Twitter, right?
On Twitter, yeah, and on YouTube. But either.
Do you want me to put the playlist link?
The playlist link would be good, because then if anybody is curious, it helps the weight, in my opinion. I wear a different Nintendo related shirt every single day. They're all different. And I was like, when I made this thing originally, do I have like 76 Nintendo shirts? I probably have around 80. I'm going to do it. So every day I do a what's the day's date and how many days left until the Nintendo Direct. And it's just been kind of fun. So I drop those usually like midnight or so, Pacific time. Andres just dropped it in the chat. Thank you. And aside from that, I love covering video game news and sales and Nintendo stuff and exercise stuff, martial arts things. And that's on YouTube and X is where I'm usually at. And, I do a little Blue Sky posting, some Instagram, some TikTok, but like, most of my time is on Twitter, YouTube. But
Yeah.
tomorrow, yeah,
Paul's
we'll
Twitter, website, and his playlist are all linked in the description below as well, by the way.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been fun. Will you go
man.
back, chat, and watch the last 50 videos or so? I don't know. That's up to you. But you're more than welcome to join in on the one a day for the next 19 days starting tomorrow. If you've got if you need that itch to scratch that calendar off. Here's a way how to wake up in the morning with a little bit of a cool. One day less. Kind of fun. So thank you.
Yeah, man, for sure. I am trying to look up. I want to say I think I have the actual tweet. I'm just trying to remember the exact time the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct is supposed to be. I think it's 6. Yeah, I mean it is what I thought it was. 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. So I'm in Eastern time. So we are. I mean, technically, if we're just talking about straight hours, we are 19 and a half days away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Today
we're
was
less than 19 and a half days away.
But yeah. It's pretty cool. It never gets old in being in anticipation for a new Nintendo system. But here I am. I'm 41. I've had plenty of next generation Nintendo consoles that I've looked forward to, and I'm probably the most excited now for this one because it's coming off of a new high for Nintendo, and they've done it so well that I'm like, how much higher can they go? You think you never get bored? No, I'll never get bored. I'll never get bored. I love this stuff too much. No matter how many E3s I went to, each new E3 was equally as exciting. I never got bored. Every Nintendo system, same thing. It's in my DNA, man.
I mean, this is my life. So
you have a very similar, passion and love for this stuff. So it's great talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it is interesting to me. There are certain things that I'm kind of I'm obsessive over, and I continue to talk about. Right. I will say that at this point, because of how much I talk about Nintendo, I'm not obsessive about it. Well, I mean, I am in the sense that I do think about it every day because it's what I've tried to make my job. But, outside of doing it for work, I'm not hey, so did you hear about this? Hey, did you hear about this? To literally everyone in my life. But when I was younger, it was I wanted to do that more. So this is kind of an outlet that allows me to function with normal people. So I'm not just shoving down their throats all the Nintendo information, right? Although it happens a little bit. Yeah, it's fun talking about this stuff.
Very fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Make sure to check out Paul. His links are in the description below. Thank you for watching. Appreciate all the likes, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.